Boom, there it is. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Monday Night Live with Carnivore Talk. And as you know, this is the nice family informal get together, as it were. We've got room for 10 participants on the screen. We've got 3 right now, and we would love to have you on screen with us using your device. There's a link that I pinned to the chat just a moment ago, and let me paste it again because I know you can't pin them on X or Facebook, which we're also multi-streaming to. So there it is in the chat there on all 3 platforms. So go ahead and click on that and join us on screen. You don't have to be a carnivore. You could just be someone with questions that would like to ask face-to-face instead of type it out. Or you could be, a ketovore, someone who's doing keto, considering carnivore. You could be someone who's just recently been carnivore and you're experiencing wonderful results and you want to share your success with the world. That'll be great. And or you just want to partake in our conversation today. And today we're going to talk about getting variety on a carnivore diet. So January was World Carnivore Month. And a lot of people went on a strict lion diet. That may not have been you, but those who have spent the last 31 days or more eating only beef, water, and salt. And maybe they're enjoying it. Maybe they're going to continue doing that. How about you? Did you do the lion diet? And are you continuing that into February? Or was January enough for you? Let me know in the comments. And other people, they did carnivore for the first time and they did beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Some people might have used spices or not, and whatever January resolutions you made, did you have a successful January? I'd like to know that. Did you have results that you were looking for? Maybe you were trying to lower the painful effects of a chronic condition. Maybe you were just trying to lose weight. Maybe you're just trying to feel better and have more energy. And I'd like to know if you stuck to it for the course of January, how those results turned out for you. And do you plan on continuing into February, either as you were or with some modified form? But some people, they're on a carnivore diet and for the first time in January. A lot of people start this in January, and by now they have flavor fatigue. They could be bored to tears because they feel like they're eating the same things over and over again, and they probably are. And so we're going to talk about all the many things that you can eat on a carnivore diet. There's a lot more than you might think of. And I believe that if you eat the rainbow of meats, you're going to enjoy life better. If you're the type of person that enjoys variety, you might be the type of person that likes simplicity. And this topic alone could bore you to tears because you're happy with your beef, your water, and your salt. So we'll see. But again, feel free to join us on screen. We would love to have you. All right. So we're starting out the gate with 26. I got to mute my phone, and we're going to go ahead and talk to our guests on screen. Let's start with Paul today. How are you doing, Paul? How was your World Carnivore Month in January?
Well, I didn't really set out with any big thing, but as I drove back from my grandchildren after Christmas, I kind of lost my taste for Coke Zero, and I gave it up, and I'm still continuing with that. And last week, my blood sugar just dropped. I don't know if it's related to Coke Zero or not, and but for 2.5 days, I had to cut my insulin 10 units every day, or 10 units a day. So I was on 50-unit dose of Lantus insulin, the long-acting insulin. I'm now on it. It did peter out after 2.5 days, and so it got me thinking, and obviously I haven't gone back to the Coke Zero, and it's holding, so that's good. And I kind of said, well, maybe I'll make 1 or 2 other small changes. Not going to really say what they are yet because I just kind of started it. One of them is I'm doing more exercise, and I don't know I don't know if it's I don't know if it's doing anything or not. But then all of a sudden today, here we are, what, on 2 days into February, my blood sugar seems to be dropping again, which is a good thing, I'm not complaining. And so I just have to go day by day and see what happens. And basically, I eat beef and eggs and butter.
Mm-hmm.
I got one small question, okay?
Sure.
Because so Tony, I've been watching more and more Tony Hampton. He 7 o'clock Eastern time, a.m. in the morning. He usually has a video out, and he had one where he got all into the fat to protein ratios, and I found it very interesting. And so, if I got this right now, so let's say I'm eating a 2,000 calorie diet, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If I eat 1,600 calories of butter, or 1,600 calories of fat, I mean, so I'm 80% fat.
So that'd be 16 divided by, you said 2,000 calorie a day?
Yeah, that's 80%.
Yes, that is correct. That's 80% fat.
So that's how they define it then.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So
All
when
right.
we talk about 80-20, we're talking about percentage of calories consumed from fat
Okay.
or
All
protein.
right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I was on the right track with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he put it in 3 categories. If you want to do this, you should be around this range, and I wrote into him. I said, "This is all well and fine, but what does 80% really mean? I'm not 100% sure." I finally figured it out, but I just wanted to make sure that I was on the right track. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. In fact, I have a video on my channel that I did about carnivore diet macros where I explain how all that's calculated. You can go check that out in your spare time.
He does a very good job on that too. Thing you got to remember about the fat to protein ratios is the fat has more calories per gram than what the protein does. What is it? 4?
9 to 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
fat's 9 calories a gram, and protein's 4.
Yeah. The way Chafee describes it, if you eat a ribeye, that's basically the perfect ratio of fat to protein. The amount of fat that's in an average ribeye is the right amount of fat to eat with your protein. Now me, I don't measure it, never have. It's more important that you measure things, because of your diabetes. But I've never measured it. I just make sure I got fat in every bite that I eat.
Yeah, and I will say that for those not interested in counting calories but want to get that ratio, you would basically eat 2 grams of fat for every 1 gram of protein when we're talking about weight. So like a package of hamburger that's 73-27. You know how you got like 90-10, 85-15, 80-20. The 80-20, that's actually 1-to-1 gram for gram, about, not exactly. But then if you go to 73-27, that's 2-to-1. That's giving you your 80-20 ratio when you're speaking in caloric terms. So
yeah, Papa Carnivore is bringing up a good thing in the chat there. That calories are just a measurement of heat. You can't eat a calorie; they don't exist. It's a measurement of heat. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Well, we prefer to go by measurement of weight, because weight equals mass. Mass is what we eat. Just for people out there that may not know that.
Yeah. Calories is kind of like a generic loose reference, but it's not very accurate.
And sometimes I use it because I don't have a better word to use,
Yeah.
But one thing I found when I wanted to know if I was eating right as far as my ratios, and this was after I was I was pretty much into my maintenance stage. I was 2 years in, and I downloaded the carb tracker app and would input my food. And there's no way I want to do that with every stinking meal, but I did it. I did it for a few meals, just to see. All right, this is what I normally eat on a regular basis. Let me see if my ratios are right. And I was nailing 70-30 ratios just about at every meal, according to that app.
Yeah. All right. Very good. All right. So now we'll turn our attention to Jeff. How are things down in Texas?
Oh, they're great now. Like I said last week, our weather, it'll hit last 2-3 days and it's over. And it's been getting down chilly at night, but warm during the afternoon, getting up in the 60s. And it's tonight it's going to get low 50s, and so it's going to be a great night. So it's great. And just want to announce to everybody, I told you and Paul earlier, but today I'm exactly 1,000 days carnivore.
1,000 days. That's amazing.
I've hit that milestone.
All right. Very good. So that would mean in 3 days, I'll be 1,000 days. So, but like we were discussing backstage before the show, I haven't been 100% strict, or nearly as strict as you have. So you definitely are, you're you're raising the bar for all of us, Jeff, because your diet is absolutely pristine in my opinion. So very good. All right, nice. Let's go over here and start looking at some comments in the chat. And first into the gate was Linda Flanagan at 7:13. That was 40-some minutes before we started. So you're the early bird that gets the worm, and she says it is finally warming up there in Texas. I guess it is here in Ohio too. We weren't at negative temperatures today. We actually made it at around 25, but I do think the low is like 3. So all the local groundhogs around here saw their shadows, which means they belong on our dinner plates. and so they're predicting 6 more weeks of winter, but of course we don't believe in that superstitious stuff. But we're not looking at breaking freezing still for at least another 10 days, but it is what it is. Our brutal time is second half of January, first week of February. So we're not out of the thick yet, but by the end of this month, we should see the light at the end of the tunnel. Sandy from Florida says hello. We got Papa Carnivore in the house. So feel free to join us on screen if you would like, Peter. We enjoy having you. And hi to the early birds. That's Paul on screen here. And we have Uncle Charlie. Uncle Charlie's in the house, and he's talking about his blood pressure here. Russell said blood pressure is fine at 140/96. I would agree. The older we get, the higher it goes. Need more pressure to get blood to the brain, heart, lungs, kidneys, stuff like that. That's why people have strokes and heart attacks. Not enough pressure. Is that right? I don't know if that's right, but for decades, 140/95 was considered like the upper limit of acceptable. And only a few years ago did they reduce it to 120/80. And I think that's the American Heart Association. They are the ones that reduced it. And, if you look at their reasoning why, well, they don't admit this, but if you kind of look at why, what this means now is zillions of more people now need to be on blood pressure meds. So that's more pills they can sell and more profit they can put in their pockets. But people have been fine 145/95 and less. And there's another association. I think it's the American Association of Family Pediatricians. I think that's the organization. They still subscribe and promote the 145/95 is once you exceed that on average, that's when you need to be concerned. But if you're under that, you're fine. It might be 140/90. I might not be 145/95, but you're 140/96 is fine. So Mine's not, though. Mine's higher than that, so I'm still trying to work on my medications to get mine down.
I would say that as far as the age thing, the older we get, the higher it goes, as he's asking. I'll bet there's a whole lot of different factors that factor into that besides just age. Because a lot of times when you think about it, the older you get, the less active you get. For most people in the world, the fatter they get. So a more sedentary lifestyle, not being as active as you used to be, I think that's going to have a lot to do with it. And, you know, most people, once you hit 40, you get over 40, you start packing on the weight. We all know that. You know, we've been there, done that. And another thing, the older we get, the more toys we accumulate, the more things we get that make our lives easier. You know, because me, I'm a tool hog. Now I've spent my whole life, working on being a mechanic, and I love tools, but and my farm equipment and everything, I've always had to do everything the hard way because I never had the money to buy the good equipment, So I didn't have a post hole, pneumatic or hydraulic post hole setter, I had to do it the old-fashioned way by hand with a post hole pounder. And now I've got a setup on my tractor where I can drive post holes. So I'm not being as active. And I have other tools. Whereas if I was running wire on a wood fence, I'm driving in staples with a hammer. Not anymore. No. Nowadays, I got pneumatic staplers. I don't drive nails anymore by hand. I've got pneumatic tools. So, we start, the older we get, the more stuff like that we accumulate, the less work we're actually putting out. And I got to admit, I don't go out of my way to hurt myself anymore. I try to take it easy when I'm working.
Yeah, so a lot of people notice a reduction in blood pressure when they go on a carnivore diet. I did initially.
I did.
Yep.
I did.
So, yeah,
in fact, because I was on medication, it almost caused me to pass out.
Mm-hmm. I was on medication to keep mine at that 145/95. That was with medications. And then when I first went on the carnivore diet, I went down to 118/70, and I was like that for quite a while until I had the phenofibrate debacle, and that damaged my kidneys even more. That was in November of 24, thanks to that doctor. And so now with that damage, I'm dealing with secondary hypertension, organ damage. It's not related to my diet. So that's my issue now. So yeah, I think you're fine with that blood pressure. Let's continue on.
Mine'll drop if I don't keep my electrolytes up.
Yeah, Bill Cook is 64. His is around 110/70. So that's good. Yeah, 140/96 is definitely livable. I agree. And Carnivore Jerry is listening from work. That's okay. That's good. We appreciate you tuning in even while you're doing the work. It's good to see you. And I know you'll be with us all night too. So Bacon Runner, how you doing? Good to see you this evening. And we got Brian Dish. Papa Carnivore says, my blood pressure is typically 120/85 with no BP meds. That's awesome. Before Carnivore, I was on 3 BP meds, and my BP was still very high at 160/110 or higher. So yeah, I'm envious right now. So I was actually looking forward to getting off my blood pressure meds till this other debacle happened. So that's awesome for you. All right, what do we got here?
I did see a report where walking, if you walk 1-2 miles a day, has a lot of influence on blood pressure for some people.
Yeah, so losing weight, so clean eating, so that's why carnivore is often successful. Losing weight, so that's why carnivore is also successful, will help bring that blood pressure down. And actually, a lot of us who go on a carnivore diet and lose weight and see our blood pressure go down, we actually, after we've lost a lot of weight, we want to improve it, and we start exercising more. We start going for walks like we never used to, or we get a gym membership that we never had. And that level of exercise also helps bring the blood pressure down. So, all of us end up with much healthier lifestyles as a result of just starting off with changing our diet. And then we continue to do more healthier things as time goes on.
Yeah, for me, changing the diet allowed me to start moving again and start exercising, start walking, because prior to going carnivore, I couldn't walk to my mailbox and back. And that was 100 yards one way. And my house set 100 yards off the road at that time. And I couldn't walk to the mailbox and back. And within a month of doing carnivore, I was out knocking out a half mile, then 3/4 mile, then a mile, and I finally worked up to where I could do 5 miles at a fast pace, without even breathing hard, so.
And I think about some of the, carnivore people in the community that were shut in. They were so big that they didn't leave their house. And after that, now they've taken off a couple 100 pounds. They can get out and they can walk around and move.
Yeah,
and that's
Bill
Knott.
Yep. Look at Bill Knott. He can get around now.
Bill Knott is a good example.
Yep.
Perfect. A very good example. Let's see here. Bacon Runner says, not going on screen in my Halloween skeleton PJs.
Oh, come on. We want to see
it. We won't mind. We used to have a guy that would come on here with no shirt on.
Yeah.
I'm willing to sacrifice variety for good digestion. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Speaking of the topic.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. Yesterday, I deviated a little bit. World Carnivore Month was off. We were doing stuff with the family. I deviated a bit, and today, I had to go to the bathroom and sit down probably like 4 times, and that's because I deviated. If I hadn't deviated, I'd just stuck to my usual schedule of 2-3 times a week. So, Grandma Crochet Corner says hello, and so does Rockin' Coach Amy. All right, let's see here. I'm a variety carnivore. I enjoy all types of meats, fish, seafood, eggs, butter, etc. All right. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that tonight. In fact, you can even start mentioning it in the comments. What are some of the things that you eat regularly, and what are some of the things that you eat that are unique that most carnivores maybe don't, but it's something that you enjoy and stops you from burning out with that flavor fatigue. So that's what I would like to know. And maybe it'll be more unique than Rick Charge Mopar. He's got some unique things that
nobody's going to beat him. So
yeah, I don't think so.
I can come close, but even I can't touch him.
He said he might join us after his friend's barbecue thing. So he usually pops in about 9 o'clock.
But I'll tell you what, if I ever make my way to Florida again, I'm gonna stop in and see him, and I'm gonna make him catch me an iguana. We're gonna go iguana hunting.
I'll try an iguana. So next November I'm gonna go down to Hack Your Health. So I'll be in the Florida area. Maybe we can try and plan some arrangements for some iguana. It's like on my bucket list now. One of my life goals is to sit down at a table and eat iguana with Rick.
Yeah,
it's got to be done.
Well, he went iguana hunting. He posted a video on it. Went iguana hunting. He couldn't find any. With the cold snap they're having down there in Florida right now, he was expecting to find some dropped out of the trees, and I figured what the deal is. He's done hunted out his area.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Indians used. The reason why Indians were so mobile is because they had to constantly be moving to new hunting grounds.
Right.
Because they'd hunt out the area they were in, and I figure that's what he's done. He's hunted out his area.
I've heard about the iguanas just falling out of trees because it got so cold down there.
Yeah.
They're cold-blooded, so they just stop their motion and plop. It's like kind of like ripe fruit. Just falls right out of the tree. All right, Uncle Charlie asked this last week. He must have signed off before we answered it. Can you eat Mr. Jones breakfast sausage and chicken rolls in a bag from Costco's? All right, so you didn't mention the chicken rolls. You mentioned rotisserie chicken. I'd have to look up the chicken rolls. but we did look up Mr. Jones breakfast sausage. I would have no problem eating it. It's got a few spices in it. But some other more strict carnivores that want to be super clean might avoid it. I eat sausage all the time, almost daily. I get pre-cooked Jimmy Dean sausages from Sam's Club, and you open up a pack. There's 4 of them in it. That's usually my breakfast, maybe with some eggs, and then I'm out the door. Because I get them pre-cooked because when I wake up, I don't have much time to goof around with cooking, so I get them because they're fast. So we looked up the Mr. Jones breakfast sausage last week and put it up on the screen, and I would have no problem with it. But again, that's up to your personal choice. Is it bad for you, the fact that it's not 100% clean? For most people, probably not. For most people, it's probably just fine. But if you have a autoimmune condition that you're and you're that sensitive to the whatever's in that spice, then you personally might want to go for a cleaner sausage than what's in the Mr. Jones breakfast sausage. So that's my opinion on that. You guys want to add anything to that?
Well, I would think that, in my opinion, and it's just how I do things, but I think a lot of it depends on where you're at in your diet or how long you've been doing it. In the beginning, I believe going really strict, cleaning up your body, getting all the toxins out, be as pure as you can be. And once you heal, once your metabolism is healed, if you want to try something like that, then try it. If it doesn't seem to hurt you, then it's probably okay. But I would at least heal your body first. Make sure you're there.
Yeah, I'm trying to look. Here it is. Okay, so let me see if I can share this screen. We'll do this again. Share screen. Okay, I understand the rules. Here it is. All right. Yeah, so this is it here, Mr. Jones. And there's your nutrition facts. It says pork, water, salt, spices, sugar. But it's so little that it doesn't even register as a carbohydrate. So
Yeah,
it's just a trace. It's kind of like bacon.
it's the last ingredient on there.
Yeah, most bacon is prepared in a brine. It soaks in a brine. It's got a little bit of sugar in it, and almost none of it absorbs into the meat. But they have to list it in the ingredients by law.
Yeah.
Is the amount of sugar in that sausage or in bacon really going to harm you? Not likely. It's trivial. And the spices, depends what it is. Again, it's probably trivial too, but some people, if they're super sensitive to oxalates or whatnot, they want to avoid all of them. I understand.
I'd eat that.
But as far as I'm concerned, I'd wolf this down with a clean conscience and serve it to you if you
for those
if you'd eat it.
For those that eat regular store-bought bacon, they're probably getting more sugar in that store-bought bacon than what's in that sausage right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. Your mileage may vary. So yeah, Papa Carnivore says, yes you can. What's in the chicken roll? Yeah, we didn't, not sure what there. So Dan Angle, that's a familiar name, and boy, that picture looks a lot like me. That's my brother, by the way. He's not a carnivore, but been back on keto since the new year, down 10 pounds so far. That's a good January. Awesome. Favorite meal is chuck roast and beef broth, 8 hours low and slow in the crock pot. Sounds good.
That's what I had today.
You need to have me over there, brother. That sounds absolutely delicious. All right, very good. So yeah, we all like Dr. Tony Hampton on YouTube. He's a very balanced, reasonable guy, and he's good. And then the calories are a construct. Yes, that's true. So, and I always use this example. Like, I can eat 2,500 calories of steak a day, lose weight. I can eat 2,500 calories, quote unquote, calories of donuts, and I'll get fat as fat can be, man. So yeah, so a calorie is not a calorie. That's the problem with counting calories. So, let's see here. Yes. Oh, this is true. Awesome result on the insulin, Paul. I agree with that. You were you were talking about how you're not taking as much and your blood sugar's been low. I mean, all that is good news. So glad to hear it.
Yeah, it's we're just. I've never gone. I've had a lot of times in the past. My CGM went haywire, and I thought I was making great progress. Then I had a bad sensor, or sensor went bad, and that happened a couple of times. So I've done a few finger sticks, and everything's holding, and I'm a little surprised with the additional changes I'm making. It seems to be going back down again. I would just have to wait. I don't expect any kind of miracle, and but to go from 50 units to 25, that's fairly. It's not like I was on 10 and went to 5. I was on 50 and I went to 25.
Mm-hmm.
That's 25 units of insulin, and insulins can be pretty potent depending upon which insulin it is, how it's rated. But and it's just so I'm kind of happy. Just keep my fingers crossed, and I know if I can get down and if I can be more active, exercise a little more, maybe a lot more, I'll be on a better path too. And later, probably early in March. Yeah, early in March, I'll do the when I go do all my labs, I will we'll check the C peptide and some enzymes and see just what the pancreas is up to and how much insulin it's making. And I'm not even sure on that test. I think you really have to look at the trend. You can't. It's hard to look at a snapshot photo of what happens.
All right, very good. All right, so Papa Carnivore is on screen, and he makes this comment: our bodies react very differently to carbs versus protein versus fat. That goes back to the calorie description, and also my comment about the donuts and the steak. That's absolutely correct. And he just popped on screen by clicking the link that's pinned to the top of the chat. I also just posted it in the in the main chat, so it gets broadcast to Facebook and X too. Feel free to click that link and join us on screen. We would love to have you. How are you doing, Peter?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing excellent.
Yeah. I am a variety carnivore, so this is the perfect show for me because I like the variety. I try and eat mostly beef, and I'd say 80% beef, but I eat my fair share of pork and chicken. Occasionally duck. I eat eggs quite often in the morning. Like I'm mainly eggs in the morning with some type of meat. I like fish and seafood. So I'll mix that in. I like shrimp for sure. And then I do butter. I love butter. I eat a lot of butter. So I tried lying for not even a week. It was just, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get enough fat. And it was just not the variety that, you know what I mean? So it just wasn't for me. I think, it can be a really good elimination diet in the beginning, like Jeff was saying, or for people with severe, immune conditions, autoimmune. But I think for most people, if they like certain meats and it helps keep them on the diet, because for me, I need variety. I need it, keep it fresh. You know what I mean? And even with beef, there's so many cuts of beef. I mean, beef, it's like endless, ribs and different roasts and steaks and ground beef and
so
organs.
many different ways to cook them.
I mean, there's a million different ways to cook it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Here's the thing with variety: you are only limited by your imagination.
That's
it.
true.
Yeah. I see people all the time that all they eat is hamburger every day.
Yeah.
I could do it, but that would bore me to tears.
I got a question about ground beef. Personally, I like it and I eat quite a bit of it, but let's say I get the same degree of fullness from 12 ounces of ground beef as I do from 24 ounces of steak. I can eat more steak than I can eat ground beef at a sitting.
Right.
Is there a reason for that?
Maybe your ground beef has a higher fat content.
But I think that, if I'm eating a ribeye steak, that's about 85. It's about 85-15. On average. And the ground beef, I eat 85-15, and I get that fullness feeling quick with ground beef.
Yeah, so I don't know how you're cooking it.
Maybe it is.
If you're losing some of the rendered fat when you cook it, or a burger is going to hold more fat than like the ribeye will, and there's a lot of factors that go in. I eat all the grease when I cook a steak. I'll take that back. When I cook a steak, I don't eat the grease. So, but when I cook burger, I usually chop it up and mix it in with whatever. But I never drain it. I make sure I get all the grease goes in my belly with everything else.
Same here. Yeah.
For
So
me,
I'm probably getting more fat with my burger than I am with a steak.
I can relate to what you're saying, Paul. If I sit down and eat burger, I can eat about a pound of burger and I'm done. I'm satisfied with it. Steak, I can sit down and eat 2 pounds of steak at one sitting, without even breathing hard. And I think what the difference is, I just like the steak better. I get tired of the hamburger after a while.
Yeah, I think
it may be that. Yeah.
I think that's true for me too.
And when I'm eating either one, I'm generally eating butter with it too. Now, like today, so I took the other day, I got out my cast iron. I had I cooked up some hamburgers and I seared a big old rib roast, or not a rib roast. I'm sorry, chuck roast. I seared heavily seared a chuck roast in some tallow. And the next day I put that in my crock pot and slow cooked it. And I didn't add nothing to it except just a little bit of broth at the bottom, to keep it from sticking to the pot. And so earlier today, I had one of those hamburgers with three over easy eggs. It was about 9 o'clock. And then I was busy all day and I got home about 5 o'clock and I had me some of that roast. And man, of course, because it was in the refrigerator, that I pour all the juices in there with it, so that all that had congealed, And so I had the gelatin plus the fat, and when I heated that thing up, of course, it was just swimming in those juices. And I went ahead, soft boiled 4 eggs. And so I had 4 soft boiled eggs along with that roast and all that wonderful fat and juice. And then when I was done with that, I'm like, I could still eat some more. I wasn't quite done. So I got me some pork rinds and some butter, and I just put some butter on some pork rinds and ate that. Now that's variety. I had a lot of variety today. And that's just one meal. And don't scrunch your face up. I'm telling you, you get some plain pork rinds, you put a little salted butter on it. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I just don't like pork rinds. That's all. I just don't eat them.
I love them. They're a Southern staple.
Don't like it.
Yep. In fact, I have one right here. So we were going to talk about snacks on carnivore.
You know what they
pork
call
rind
those?
Gives me my crunchy satisfaction when I'm.
You know what they call them in Texas? They call them chicharrones.
Chicharrones.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's actually what it says on my bag.
Yep.
And I've made my own. When I make bacon, now the pork belly I'm buying these days has already been skinned out. But when I buy a big slab down at the butcher shop, it's always got the skin on it. So I'll trim the skin off of it, and then I cut that up, and I make my own cracklings and pork rinds out of it. Good stuff.
Yeah. So when it comes to snacks, I brought a couple things. I haven't had dinner yet. So I just had a pork rind. Uh, for me, my carnivore diet allows for eggs and dairy. So some people it doesn't. So cheese, I'm a cheese eater here. And sardines is a good snack. If you're into snacking, I don't really necessarily support snacking, but if you're got to eat on the go, this is a grass-fed beef jerky. It's a little jalapeno flavored, so the jalapeno is not exactly clean. And this, I like this too. Here, this is a zero sugar beef jerky,
Yeah.
and it's not clean either. It's let's see here. I think it doesn't have brown sugar in it like a lot of beef jerky does. This one is probably marinated in soy sauce. Actually, I ripped the top of the ingredient off, so I can't even see the whole ingredients. But
What
for
brand
me,
you
those
got
are
there?
acceptable. What's that?
What brand of jerky you got there?
It's called Tillamook.
Yeah, I use that, the zero sugar one.
Yes, zero
I
sugar.
travel with that. I travel with that.
Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff there. So
Yeah.
yeah, hard boiled eggs. That's also good when it comes to snacks. We'll talk about some of our foods here. I want to know if there's anything unique that you eat.
I
Well,
make a mayonnaise out of butter or bacon grease.
Good
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah. And then I take canned tuna or canned salmon and I use an egg yolk. So I got like a really rich mayonnaise, if you will. And so I make a patty and then I fry those patties in butter.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like a crab cake or tuna cake, whatever you want to call it. And I'll put a little cheese on top, and then I just put the patties on the plate and eat it. And I don't do it very often. And I do put just the tiniest bit of shallot or onion in it also. And but you can go with a powdered onion or something like that. The other thing I do is I go to the deli and I get the sandwich pepperoni. I'll get a slice of it on the thick side. Same way with the Genoa salami or hard salami. I put those in my frying pan, toast up one side, flip them over, and then I'll put like a cheese mixture and maybe pieces of pepperoni or Italian sausage. They make like a little mini pizza. Doesn't have any tomato sauce with it, but sometimes I'll keep a little bit of marinara sauce in the freezer and I'll got like little marinara sauce ice cubes. I'll thaw one of them out and put a little teaspoon of that on each one. And they're great snacks. It's kind of like, sitting down to the Super Bowl and you got a snack now. And it's it's very carnivore.
All right, very nice. I'm just looking through here, starring some questions while we talk. I see that Dave has joined us on screen. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good. Super busy. I'm about a half hour late. But anyway, good to see you guys.
That's okay. And I just had this thought come to my mind too. You mentioned being late. I'm late too. We were going to do the results of the giveaway this week, but I had not had time to sit down and add up all the entries and program it into the website that we're going to use. So we'll do that next week. If anybody's tuning in for that, I got home from work late and I just didn't have the time to do it.
I'll tell you what my newest thing, Donna Bacon Runner, she's in the chat.
Yes.
Donna is real big into the canned fishes and stuff,
Mhm.
canned seafood. So like I've and I've always liked sardines. So I like the King Oscar whole fish sardines in like in the olive oil, the extra virgin olive oil. And they even make them now with jalapenos, which is no big deal. I mean, it's such a small amount that doesn't bother me any. But I'll put a little Louisiana hot sauce on it. That's a really good snack. Just the sardines. And then I just recently got the King Oscar kipper snacks, which they're herring in water. And I put some Louisiana hot sauce. The other thing she got me into is these cod livers. Have you guys ever tried the cod liver in a can?
Not yet.
Oh
I
my
want to
God.
try them though.
Oh my God. Well, I got smoked oysters. It's the brand is called Otter Kingdom, like an otter, like a wild otter. Otter Kingdom. I get them on Amazon because most smoked oysters are almost all, not 99%, are packed in seed oil.
Yeah, soybean.
These are packed in extra virgin olive oil, and I get a 12 can pack for like $45 on Amazon, but they are absolutely delicious. They're smoked oysters, and then these cod livers. The brand I get are called Belvedere, Belveder, Belvedere. They're from Iceland. They're wild caught cod livers. They're packed in their own juice. There's nothing. It's just cod livers, and man, they taste just like they taste almost identical to the smoked oysters that I get. The same
Uh,
creamy texture, delicious. I mean, and I eat them with a can of them with eggs, like almost like a side dish. Like I'll fry up some fried eggs in butter and chop those all up on the plate and eat that. And while I'm eating it, I'll eat the with a fork. I'll just take a fork and eat the cod livers almost like a side dish. Man, you never taste anything so good as these cod livers. And they're very nutritious, like super, super high nutrition.
you got me wanting to try them now because I
And
love
they're loaded,
smoked
Jeff. They're
oysters.
loaded, Jeff. They're loaded with omega 3s,
Yeah,
and it's liver, so it's like a damn vitamin pill.
yeah.
But I'm telling you, they're so good. You don't have to buy 12 cans. Buy 1 can or something, you know. But you want the wild ones from Iceland. That's where they come from. And there's a bunch of brands. I think it's called ICI. But the one I get is called Belvedere, Belveder, Belvedere, and they're about $41 for 12 cans. So I don't know, what does that come out to a can?
I'd have to punch it in the calculator.
Like $3 and something a can.
Yeah.
But I
All
mean,
right.
they're so good. It's not like you don't need to eat that every day or nothing. It's just maybe 1 can every, 2 cans a week or something like that. And just as a again, trying to get some variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the subject of variety, I'm the same way. I get all kinds of. I eat beef, and I change the way I make the beef also. So like I'll taco meat one day, I'll chop it up and use maybe another seasoning another day. I have nothing against seasonings. So again, your mileage may vary there.
Yeah.
I'll also do lamb. We like to get New York strips. I like to get the little lamb cuts that look like little T-bones. Those are really good. I like to get ground lamb as well. Then you got beef roasts, bison. I'll get bison once in a while. Bacon, obviously, chicken. I still eat chicken breast, but chicken thighs are a little better because they're more fatty.
Do you eat
And,
pork?
I eat pork all the time. Yeah. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, I like pork.
I see. Oh, Kelly's trying to come in. So as soon as I see a video, there we go. All right. Hi, Kelly.
Well, I just checked all my grocery store apps. I got 3 of them on my phone. I just checked 3 of them, and none of them carry cod livers. I may have to order them from Amazon.
Yeah, that's where I get them.
And then Peter, you mentioned canned salmon, canned tuna, canned sardines. Those are all good. I get canned Vienna sausages. I tell you what I like. When I used to eat breakfast, and I used to be a fan of corned beef hash. Now, of course, I won't eat that now because of the potatoes.
Right.
But you can actually get corned beef. It tastes just as good. And you can open up a can of corned beef and have that with your breakfast. And I do the same thing with eggs. Every day that I have eggs is something different. So it's an omelet one day. It's over easy the other day. It's I'll make chaffles and make breakfast sandwich another day. And so there's all kinds of different ways to add variety. I like shrimp. I like scallops. I like fish. I buy all those too. And so there's plenty of variety. I think the key is to enjoy all of it and keep mixing it up, you know.
The other thing that I really love, and Jeff and I have talked about this, is that liverwurst and Braunschweiger. I mean,
Oh yeah.
It's the only
man,
way I like my liver.
that's how I get my liver.
Same. And I make my own. Go on carnivoretalk.com. You can find my recipe for it. But yeah, I make my own liverwurst or pate, either one. It's good
Right.
stuff.
All right.
You know, you were talking about lamb, so that's what I'll be doing tomorrow is smoking up some lamb.
Mm-hmm.
I got two racks of lamb that I'm thawing out in the refrigerator right now. I'll smoke them tomorrow, and I got some hamburger thawing out, and I'll make some bacon wrapped. I'll make a meatloaf, and I'll wrap it in bacon and do a bacon weave on it. And then I'll smoke that on my smoker right along with them ribs.
All right.
For me, that's how I get a lot of my variety is smoking my meats. I love smoking meats.
We peaked at 52 viewers just a few minutes ago. Our highest was 64 2 weeks ago. Last week we made it 62. So if you haven't had a moment yet to hit that like button, that would be great to try and push this out to more eyeballs that might come and see it. If you have an opportunity to share it somewhere that's not considered spam, that would be greatly appreciated too.
Hey Jeff, I saw a T-shirt you would love. It's kind of like my shirt here. You see the carnivore pyramid?
Good shirt, by the way.
But at the top it says, "I only smoke the good stuff," and it looks just like this. Like with the shirt looks just like this, but it says, "I only smoke the good stuff."
That's pretty good.
If you search on eBay, "I only smoke the good stuff" T-shirt, I'll bet you can find it. It's there.
All right. We'll go back to the chat here. Dan Angle says, what about peanuts? I like shell peanuts. So obviously it's not carnivore.
No.
Yeah.
It's not. Well, we're not going to say no, Pete. It's not carnivore,
Well,
but
not
peanuts are
carnivore.
considered. Would you silence for a moment, please? Okay. It's not carnivore. Okay. So when we talk about carnivore friendly foods, obviously that's a plant, and carnivores aren't going to be up for eating any plants. However, you could be ketovore or keto or animal based, in your carnivore centric diet, and you might feel fine, including peanuts in your diet. If you have not had an issue in the past with, there's a couple things. One, they're crazy tasty. So they're keto friendly with a caveat. If you don't eat, you have to practice portion control. If you eat too many of them, there are carbs in them, and you're going to blow your carb count, and you'll bounce out of ketosis. If you have a autoimmune condition that you're trying to fix, the peanuts will probably need to go, or at least try to go without them for 30, 60, 90 days with a pure carnivore diet, because you're trying to find out if your autoimmune condition is linked to some sort of plant toxin. So peanuts are a seed. They're a legume. They're not really a nut. And seeds are highly toxic. So the peanuts they're gonna contain phytic acid, maybe some trace lectins, but I believe they're going to be high in oxalates, and those could be things that are aggravating an autoimmune condition, which I don't know if you have or not.
For me, a lot of it is just they're super addictive for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just love. I can't stop eating peanuts. I get. So for me, it's a no.
A couple other issues with peanuts is, when were they harvested and how long have they been sitting in a package on a store shelf somewhere? Because they can get what's called aflatoxins that come from mold, just kind of like coffee. A lot of coffees contain a lot of mold, and that gives people problems, and they feel better when they quit the coffee. And it's not really because of the coffee, it's because of the mold. And sometimes it is the coffee, because it is also a seed. So the rules of like carnivore eating or carnivore plus some plant matter. When it comes to the plant matter, it's if you're trying to do keto, low carb, obviously you stay on the cruciferous vegetable side, and that's about it. If you're doing animal based and you're not really worried about losing weight, the general rule is no roots, no stems, no leaves, and no seeds.
Yeah.
and only the fruitage. I think you can combine both principles. So, like, a cucumber is a fruit, a squash is a fruit. That is fruitage, but you got to watch out for the seeds in it. So yeah. So if you have no issues controlling your appetite when it comes to eating peanuts, and you want to eat some peanuts, by all means, eat some peanuts. That's fine. But if you have these other issues that you want to try and rectify, then I would recommend trying to eliminate the peanuts, at least for a while, to see if you notice any health improvements.
Well, the other thing you got to be careful with peanuts is they are boiled, whatever, in seed oils a lot of times. You just got to be careful.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. I've heard them. I thought they were just like oven roasted.
Well, it depends. Some are.
Yeah.
It depends how they're prepared.
Yeah. And another thing that comes to my mind is they're going to be high in omega-6 polyunsaturated fats.
Mhm.
So, just like consuming, that's another reason why we don't consume seed oils. Your omega-6 ratio, it gets too high, and then it becomes inflammatory. Eating a lot of peanuts could do the same thing. Eating a few peanuts, people have been eating peanuts for centuries. It's probably fine for most people. Depends what your goals are and what your needs are. Lioness Helix says hello. Good to see you. She was full of good comments last week. Alexis Jones says hi. I'm just dropping in before a Bible study. Well, glad you could drop in. Go ahead and do that. That's more important. We'll still be here when you're done. And then Lioness Helix says, is iguana in the fish family, or does it taste like chicken? Hopefully Charger
Reptile.
Mopar Rick will be here in the next 10 to 30 minutes, and he'll be able to answer that for us.
If it's anything like what I imagine it to be, I'm gonna imagine it's gonna be more like frog legs,
Or alligator.
which is similar to snake.
Yeah, I was thinking probably alligator, since it's a lizard.
Gator
Well,
would be another good one, yeah.
I've heard Rick talk about it. He says it kind of tastes like alligator. And he said, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting
Yeah, it sounds like there's a TV on in Dave's room. I muted you.
Okay.
I muted Dave.
What I was going to say is, he says that if it's gotten from the land but not near the sea, the iguana tastes more like chicken. He said if they're more near the coast or the water, like the salt water, it tastes more like fish.
Interesting.
That's what he's always said.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can think that makes sense. Lexus says, guys, I'm still binge eating. Am I just not cut out for carnivore/keto? I feel like I've tried everything. So binge eating on what? So if you're binge eating on carnivore keto friendly foods, just eat, I wouldn't beat yourself up over it. But if you're binge eating like on Skittles, then it's just a matter of, conquering those sugar cravings and, and trying to fight your way through it, come out on top. So we need to know a little more about what exactly are you binging on.
And where is this stuff coming from? Why is it in the house with you? Is it other people that are bringing this stuff into the house? Or are you going out and going to fast food joints and stuff?
I think she lives with roommates. So,
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Eric Westman brings out a good point. I think that when you're starting out, let's face it, you've been eating a high carb, sugary diet, most people. And how do you get down to this carnivore thing? And I've heard him say this, he says, well, if you need a bowl of sugar-free Jell-O, even a bowl every day, to get you going, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? It's not the ideal world, but you got to remember you're on a journey, and you're going to get there eventually, okay? And the other thing, too, is what may affect you today on carnivore may or may not affect you 2, 3, 4 years from now, okay? In my 3, 4, or 5 years I've been doing this, several times I have given up Coke Zero for 30 days, 90 days. It didn't do anything for me. Okay? And that's the only real change I made in January was the Coke Zero was out, okay? I was probably drinking 3 plastic bottles, 16-ounce bottles every day on average. Some days more, some days less. Is that why my blood sugar dropped and my insulin went in half? I don't know. You know, I didn't do anything else different. But I've never had this effect from just eliminating the Coke Zero. So you're on a journey, and things come and go and change. We all may eat a little bit different 5 years from now.
You know, so I don't know if that had an impact on your blood sugar. I can think of, you know, there are studies that say that people that drink diet sodas end up eating more, you know, it makes them crave food a little more with the sweetness in it. But by way of comparison, I quit soda altogether. You know, I went from Diet Coke to Diet Mountain Dew because my kidneys can't take the phosphoric acid. And then I was worried about the caffeine contributing to my blood pressure. So I finally quit the Diet Mountain Dew at the end of probably at the end of November. And I've taken off 6 pounds, you know, and I haven't really done anything different, you know. So I think there might be some sort of connection there. I've lost weight, but not by switching to carbonated water. And I've also developed a taste for carbonated water. I hated it 2 months ago, but now I love it. You know, so because I'm not drinking sweet soda to compare it to now, you know, so yeah, so it could be. So yeah, Alexis, if you pop back in from Bible study, and you know, you might miss this discussion that we just had, but that's what I'd like to know is what exactly are you binging on? Coach Juliet Eden says many don't succeed at first, second, or third time. She gives an example where she tried keto since 2009, on and off, always off. You're not broken, just don't give up. And, you know, I'm the same way. I was a yo-yo dieter until carnivore, you know, and I've been able to lose the weight and keep it off. So yeah, there's a lot of, it's willpower versus the addiction, you know, and it's a real struggle. You know, it's a real struggle that you have to contend with. So,
and I haven't been perfect either. I mean, I've had instances where I've, you know, fallen off for whatever, a few meals or a few, you know, maybe a week or this, whatever.
A few pretzels.
Yeah, I had 3 pretzels. I don't call that really falling off plan.
No, I know. I'm just picking.
But I'm talking like, you know, when I had the chocolate bar incident, and I was having some chocolate bars, that was a problem, you know. But yeah, I've had it happen. But the trick is not giving up. It's the addiction. And as you get further and further into it, I'm now 3 years into this. As you get further and further into it, and you start enjoying the meals more, you know, and feeling good. And what's that expression? Nothing feels as good as
nothing tastes as good as how it feels.
Nothing tastes as good as how I feel.
Feels good. Yeah. And when you feel as good as I feel, and I only feel this way when I'm strict. You know what I mean? I don't feel this way. Also, the bathroom issues start cropping up. When I go off plan, you start having all those issues too. You know, like all the issues, you start getting those pain in your knees or whatever. You know, it all can come back very quickly, you know, when you start, you know, going off plan. So, and then for me, you know, I have the bipolar depression and anxiety, and I know Lexi struggles with schizophrenia, you know, and her mental disorders. If I go stray off plan, a lot of that starts coming back. So, like, I can't go off of it. You know, I can't. I have to stay really pretty strict, and I need to stay high fat.
Very nice. Good comments, Peter. I really enjoyed that.
Right. Fear is my motivation.
Yep.
it's kind of like the scripture says, beginning of wisdom is fear in the Lord, and that's for me, that's how I am about my my diet, because I reversed something that was literally just killing me.
Didn't you have the AFib?
Yeah. And between that and curing my Crohn's disease, it was like, I'm scared to death to go back to that. So fear is my motivation. I don't want to reverse what I've got. I don't want to lose what I've got.
Well, and remember, for me, it was diabetes, high blood pressure, fatty liver, and the mental stuff. But yeah, there's major fear. Like, I do not want to become diabetic again. Like, I'm off and I don't want to go back on high blood pressure medicine and
fear is our motivation.
Yeah, I mean, I was on omeprazole for terrible acid reflux for over a decade. I had constipation, terrible hemorrhoids. I mean, I ain't going back to those digestive issues and all that. No way.
Ain't worth it. It ain't worth it.
No.
Like we said, nothing tastes as good as how I feel.
Now, just remember, Lexi is very, very young. Okay. So she doesn't, her issues is really just the mental issue coming back, which is that's fear. There's fear, believe me. Because she solved a lot of that with carnivore, started feeling great, but she doesn't have the physical issues that people our age, like she's not old enough to be having all those other things, but her mental issues are strong enough fear. Believe me, I've talked to her many times, that I think she will come back. I do. She doesn't have a choice. She doesn't have a choice. It's that, or she's going to have to be back on all those psych meds. And that's no party. Believe me, I've been on them. Me and Carrie Mann had the bucket of psych meds we were on, both of us.
Well, quite often you talk about young versus old, and ailments and all that.
Yeah.
We often say, I wish I'd have known about this, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But I think about myself and how I was. And even if I'd have known about this, 30, 40 years ago, I probably wouldn't have listened to myself.
No, neither would I. Because
I didn't have any ailments. I felt good.
Yeah.
I was strong. I was healthy, or at least thought I was healthy. I didn't know I was slowly deteriorating due to my diet. That's what I was doing. We're slowly killing ourselves with how we eat. And then we get to the point where we're so sick that we have to heal. And that's when we're receptive to go on something like carnivore and change our lifestyle. Right. But sometimes you got to get sick before you can get better.
Yeah.
That's my story. That's how I was.
No, that's the same here.
All right. Head back to the comments here. So Rockin' Amy says that she eats Mr. Jones sausages. She's very sensitive. They don't bother her. So yeah, like I said, that I would eat those in a heartbeat. So, but again, I'm not the strict carnivore. I don't mind a little seasoning. I don't mind the little bit of sugar that might be in your store-bought bacon. I'm not that exacting. And the reason is because my new diet is light years different from what I used to eat. So I'm reaping the benefits. So SMH cast, I want to try electrolytes besides making it myself. Who has the best deal? I subscribed to a salt shaker that's $16 a month.
No, you know what the best thing is to do is, if you want to do electrolytes, is make your own. I'll tell you who has a great electrolyte recipe is Mitch, old guy carnivore Mitch. He's got video of how to make it super cheap. And he takes now I don't do electrolyte. I do take magnesium. I take 800 milligrams of magnesium citrate in a day. And then I salt my meat pretty liberally. So I get the salt, I get the magnesium, and then the potassium, I guess I just get it from my meat and eggs and stuff. But I just take like I said, magnesium, and I salt my food and drink water.
I salt my water, but yeah, I'm with you. I do the magnesium citrate. I salt my water, salt my food pretty heavily. I got to be careful with potassium because I can get too high in potassium because of the way I eat.
Right.
I was doing Element and then switched to Keto Chow, and I had a blood test about 6 months after starting all that, and my potassium levels were too high for they were in danger levels.
Right.
And
So
when
that's
you've
what.
got a heart condition, potassium will kill you.
Right. And so I don't take any potassium because I think my food's got plenty of potassium, because without taking any, just salt in my food and taking the magnesium. And the reason I take the magnesium is, the food is just deplete of magnesium, the soil,
Yeah.
and I take the citrate because it has a mild laxative effect.
Same.
And I need that because that's just me. But if somebody is more prone to diarrhea or whatever, loose stools, magnesium glycinate is better because it doesn't have that laxative effect.
I take a magnesium complex that's got all of them in there.
Yeah.
Me too. Mine's called Zentastic. I get it off of Amazon. I think it's malate, glycinate, taurate, and lactate. So it's all in there. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I only take one pill, which is 60 milligrams a day, and my my magnesium is actually elevated above the high range. But again, that's because my kidneys don't excrete it. So I'm too high on magnesium, too high on potassium from all the pork I eat. There's plenty of potassium in pork muscle meat for sure. That's probably got the highest content. But I don't think anybody that's been fat adapted and eating a carnivore diet for 3 years, like three of us on screen right now, really need electrolytes once you're fat adapted. If you salt generously, you're good to go. I think that's something you need more at the beginning when you transition from a standard American diet to a carnivore diet. You're not eating all those carbohydrates, so you're losing the water and it's taking the electrolytes with them. So during those phases, I think it's good to take electrolytes. But I think that if you stick to this lifestyle, I think you can quit after a while.
But I used to do a lot of like the Element packets, but the only time I really do them is in the summertime when it's hot outside. That's about the only time I do the extra electrolytes. Other than that, I might do an Element pack once a week. That's about all I'll do anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I keep some on hand for summertime when I'm outside working hard, and I'm sweating and everything. I'll have to take them to keep my blood pressure up and keep from getting cramps. But I just can't take them on a regular basis anymore.
Yeah. All right. Steadfast comments to Lexi. Can you at least prioritize meat and fat with no processed food? I think that's a great way to start, by the way. So remember, proper human diet is somewhere between 0 and 100 carbs that are single ingredient whole foods. So that eliminates man-made food, and that allows for, nature-made food, God-made food, since you're at a Bible study. And where you fit on that spectrum will vary depending on your personal physiology. Step 1, get rid of the man-made food. So just kind of like that new food pyramid came out. I think it's a step in the right direction. What's it say at the very top? Eat real food, plain and simple. Meat, eggs, dairy, some choice vegetables, and some choice fruits. Personally, I would avoid grains, seeds, including legumes, and anything that basically can come out of a factory and sit on a shelf and not go bad. I'd be leery about it, So, well, imagine you lived 150 years ago off your own land. That's that's the way. That's where you should start, and that might be good enough for you, And then you'll get more keto for carnivore from there, if you need to. So, which I do think with your situation, I do think the more keto and carnivore you get, the better off you would be. And I base that on the feedback that you've given us in the past, how good you feel in keto carnivore, along with stuff that I've read in books like, Brain Energy and whatnot. DS111 likes the cow, the pig, and the chicken. I like them all too. Steadfast said, I did sea lion about 50% January. I could not get enough fat at all. So
I've had seal, but I haven't had sea lion.
I saw sea lion, and I was like, "You had a sea lion?" Okay. SMH Cast says, I'm doing lion diet almost 100 days now. Last week I was really missing sweets, but today I ate 2 pounds of burger and 1 pound of steak and didn't even think about dessert. Yeah, I have the same thing. If I have a sweet craving, which I don't anymore unless I make a mistake and eat something sweet, then the cravings come back. Yeah, just eat until you're full. Eat appropriate food until you're full, and then the craving will go away. Uncle Charlie says, what's the best way to cook pork belly? I've never cooked it, so my mind immediately goes to bacon. My mind immediately goes to bacon. What's that, Jeff?
Bacon.
Bacon?
Yeah, I've tried cooking pork belly just as pork belly. And, I know a lot of people love it. I think it's good stuff. And I find it pretty bland. Doesn't do much for me, but I make bacon. I make my own bacon, so that's what I do with pork belly.
All right. My brother Dan says, I'm trying to get into pork rinds again, but it's tough. And he says, I found a white cheddar flavor that's not too bad. So, yeah, there's go ahead and get flavors. I like to get the barbecue, or I like to get chili lime, if you want something with a little zest. Some other suggestions are, if you get plain, you can season it yourself. Like, I've got this seasoning that I use when I cook meat at home. I can put some of that in the bag and shake it up and season my pork rinds that way.
That's what I do because I know what my seasoning is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at the ingredients on a lot of them pork rind bags, you'll find they got all kinds of junk in them.
They do. In fact, when I go to the store, there's 3 brands at my local Meijer, and 2 of them will say sunflower oil on the back. So yeah. I stay away.
Well,
from
that's
those
what they're
brands.
cooked in.
Yeah.
I did my research down here. We have a brand called Max, MAC''S, and I did the research. They are fried in their own lard, so they are clean that way. But when I read the labels of the flavored ones, they've always got stuff in it that I don't want to put in my body.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I get the plain ones. Now I will do like you do. I will go ahead and dust it with a little salt. And I may have some Tony's mixed in with the salt, just a little bit of Tony's.
Yeah.
And so I've got a salt Tony's mixture.
Yeah.
I'll sprinkle that over my pork rinds.
I'm going to try that. I'll give pork rinds another. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good idea.
You got to be careful with Tony's. You don't want to use too much because it's really, really salty. But now, one of my favorite things to do with my pork rinds is like this evening, I was saying I had a pork roast, and, I reserve all them juices and everything. Well, any juices left over, I'll soak them up with pork rinds.
So when you say Tony's, you mean Tony Catchers?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I never say the last name because I can't pronounce it.
I can't either, but I just make it up.
And then another thing I do with my pork rinds, it's my favorite thing to do, is I make nachos. Pork rind nachos. If you can do dairy,
oh yeah.
You take your nachos, you lay them out on your platter. You take your cheese, your good sharp cheddar, and I use a aged sharp cheddar, and grate it up over it. And one of my favorite things is I like to put some chorizo on mine. I make chorizo nachos, and I don't get the store-bought chorizo, because you look at that store-bought chorizo, check out the ingredients. It's bad stuff. It's nasty. I mean, my guys, they put soy grits in that stuff. I go to a local carniceria, and I don't know if y'all have any carnicerias up north, but, Mexican meat market. So I'll go to a local carniceria and get fresh, homemade, made in the shop chorizo. And so it's nice and chunky, got some good pork in it. But I'll make, sometimes I'll use hamburger, sometimes I'll use brisket, sometimes I'll use the chorizo, but the chorizo is my favorite. But yeah, put some chorizo on there, dust it with a little bit of seasoning, cover it in cheese, pop it in the microwave, nuke it for a couple of minutes, and I'll eat that as a meal. It's good stuff. That's one of my favorite things to do with pork rinds.
I like to take the melted butter and put the pork rinds in a bowl, and then I'll sprinkle it with popcorn salt. Redmond's has a popcorn salt that I sprinkle on it. And it's pretty good. It tastes like
I saw your
buttery
video
popcorn.
on that. I saw your video on it. And what I did tonight is I just took butter, just stick of butter in a butter knife, and I just spread some on my pork rinds and ate them. And I know, and you know, my wife asked me about that. She saw me doing that, Paul. You know, it's funny you expressed. She saw me doing that, and I just spread some butter on one and handed it to her. You know, and she ate it. And she goes, "Okay, that works."
You know,
I'm gonna have to try that. Just the butter.
Yeah.
you know, in the last month, the other change to my eating a little bit has been I'm consuming a little more butter now than maybe my fat has gone up a little bit. I don't know if that's helped my diabetes or not, but I'm going through. I go through a pound of butter every week.
Mhm.
You know, and I mean, every day I take half a stick of butter and stick it on my cutting board. That's my daily allotment, but sometimes I get into the next day's allotment too. So that's why there's 8 of those half sticks in a pound, and it only makes it 7 days.
Yeah, I go through about a stick a day.
I don't pay attention, so I don't know. The last time I went to buy butter at Sam's, I bought them, and you know they actually weren't divided into quarters like they usually are. It was actually one.
Yeah.
They were big solid chunks. So
Yeah, 1 pound block.
1 pound block. Yeah.
Yeah. You get into commercial butters for, you know, where they go to food processing companies. I've seen them come in like it's almost like a 8-inch by 8-inch by 8-inch block of butter. It's I think it's 10 pounds, 10-pound block.
Bacon Runner says she air fries her pork belly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got a comment here from Linus Helix says this is targeted towards Dan about the pork rinds. She suggests you do cinnamon. So yeah, no, that might be all right too. You know, a little bit of cinnamon. That's another thing. You know, the cinnamon I think has oxalate in it, but again, you know, a little bit of oxalate isn't necessarily bad unless you are hypersensitive towards it. So, you know that might helps you start eating pork rinds again. That'll do it. Since you're keto and not carnivore, find a clean salsa and just think of it yourself like at the Mexican restaurant. Dip that into some salsa and eat it that way. And again, the only caveat there is, you know, it's going to be crazy tasty. And, you know, if you have this big jar of salsa and the next thing you know, you've burned through the whole thing and wolfed down a bag of pork rinds, you know, you might have exceeded your carb limit for the day. So you got to, you know, again, same thinking with the peanuts. Just got to be cautious and practice some discipline and portion control. And DS11 mentions seed oil seasoning in the pork rinds. So, like I said, I do look at my labels. So if it says fried in sunflower, the plain ones, it says fried in sunflower oil, I won't do it. Like if I see the word seed oil on the bag, I'm not doing it. And some of the flavorings will have that too. Yeah. All right. So let me mark a comment here so I got my starred list and I got where I'm at on the live list here. All righty. Uncle Charlie says, does anybody have a 6-pack? And I don't mean a beer. So I do under this a little bit of the flub that I have remaining. Yeah, we all have 6-packs. You know,
I've got too much
my
loose
body
skin.
fat percentage isn't low enough to expose it. So, and I really don't care either. I don't want to look like some muscular tank. So I'm just happy being healthy after being fat all my life. So, all right. Dan says, what about pumpkin seeds? It says 4 carbs a serving, but 3 is fiber and no sugar. Again, if you're on keto, perfectly acceptable. As long as you're, you know, counting that carb count, the fiber is indigestible, so you don't have to count the fiber. So that's 1 carb per serving. That could be just fine as long as you don't overconsume. If you are carnivore, though, you're probably going to turn it down for the same reasons as, pumpkin seeds. They also have phytic acid, oxalates, lectins, and some other minor compounds that, are considered anti-nutrients. And then, anti-nutrients, what they do is they bind to the nutrients. So, plant and all plant foods have anti-nutrients, by the way. So a plant food might have X amount of this vitamin or that vitamin or this mineral, but because of the anti-nutrients that come along with it, a lot of it binds and passes through your stool, and you don't actually absorb as much of it as you think. And then stuff you do absorb might not even be compatible with the human body. And there's a rigorous process to try and convert it from the plant form to the animal form.
Toasting helps a lot.
Yeah, a good example of that is like, I think, is it vitamin A is beta carotene and retinol, right? Does I get that
Seems to
correct?
me that's right.
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Or so that's vitamin A, right? I might have to look it up.
Yeah.
So like you get beta carotene in plants, but that's the plant version of the vitamin, and your body actually can't use that. So
Right.
the animal
Yeah, it
version
has-
is called retinol. What's that, Kelly? Am I getting that right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep,
Beta
yep,
carotene's
yep,
in the
yep.
plant, and then retinol, which is the vitamin A, you get it straight from the source. But the beta carotene, you have to get it somehow converted over to retinol in your body. I don't know how that process.
Okay, yeah.
is.
So retinol. Yeah, so we're talking about vitamin A here. So yeah, so beta carotene, in the plant form, you eat it like say in a carrot or something, carotene, and some of it's going to pass right through your stool because the anti-nutrients bind to it. The stuff that does get into your body and absorb into your bloodstream, it's not usable, and the body has to go through this rigorous process of trying to convert it into retinol so it can be used, and that's not a very efficient process. So a lot of it just goes to waste too. If it makes it into your, if it doesn't get excreted through your stool, it goes in your bloodstream and it gets excreted through your urine. And so that's why you're better off eating beef liver or just muscle meat in general, and because that is already going to come in the form of retinol, which the human body can use right away. And so that's the thinking behind it. But again, if you're just trying to lose weight and you don't have any autoimmune conditions and you don't want to go strict carnivore and you want to do keto or ketovore, some pumpkin seeds once in a while, sure, that could be just fine as part of your plan. So we're good with that. We don't dog individuals who are not eating strict carnivore. So
Well, except for Peter.
he bailed out. No, he might be back. So, and Pretzel Pete.
Pretzel Pete.
And
We love you, Peter.
yeah, no, we're just picking on you. So, I went to the movies the other day. I had a couple handfuls of popcorn, because the rest of the family was eating it, and I tell you what, it was a mistake because I went to the bathroom 4 times today, and that's the only thing that I did different was have a few handfuls of popcorn.
Lessons learned.
They irritated my gut. So I know regular corn doesn't digest, but apparently the popped version gives me problems too.
Well, it's probably what it was cooked in.
Yeah. Let's see here. Paleo Valley bone broth. Anyone? Chocolate, vanilla, or caramel? I don't know about that. I've never seen chocolate, vanilla, or caramel bone broth.
Flavored bone broth?
Never heard of that.
Every time I fixed
I never heard of it.
every time I fixed my bone broth in my instant pot, I never got chocolate flavor. Just
No.
It's in the hidden menu. It's in the hidden menu.
Yeah. No, we might be missing something here. Does
I put the
Paleo
bones
Valley
in.
have caramel flavored bone
None
broth?
of,
and the
none of-
water.
None of those flavors go with meat. I can't imagine.
That sounds like a processed food to me.
If there's a caramel flavored one, I'm gonna try it because I love caramel. I haven't had caramel in years. SMH cast. Tomorrow I'll be 49. Congratulations. I'm sure I'll be tempted to make an exception. My brain works overtime trying to justify eating sugar. Yeah, so I wouldn't for that. I tell you what I do is, like I said, I'll eat off plan once in a while, but when the wife and I have our anniversary and we go out and spend something absolutely retarded on dinner, I will eat everything on the plate. So because it costs me that much. So I will eat the sides, I will eat the appetizer, I will eat, the bread they put before me. I will drink the wine that we order, and they'll usually bring us a free dessert because when we reserve the table, they know it's anniversary. I will eat some of the dessert. So that's the one time a year that I'm going into that evening knowing full-fledged that I'm splurging. So, and I'm not really splurging either. I'm allowed to control myself, but I know that's the one day of the year that I'm it's on the calendar. I am not eating on plan this evening. It's on the calendar. That's my anniversary. A birthday to me is not that important. So if it is to you, Dr. Barry says if you want to have a piece of cake on your birthday and that's the only time you eat cake, fine. It ain't gonna kill you. Dr. Barry's pretty reasonable though.
But the thing that I found is, and I've been at this for about 5 years now, and as I go along this journey, in my brain, I have this memory of cake, pie, donut, cookie, all that stuff, right? If I eat any of it now, it never matches my imagination.
Exactly.
Never matches my memory.
I don't like
Not
it.
anymore, it don't.
I'm here.
I can't stand desserts now.
Doesn't stand up to it anymore.
Same with me.
After the first bite, I'm like, I don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do anything for me.
And sweets are way too sweet for me now.
I want to go back to that last comment Bill Cook had with the Paleo Valley. They actually do have what they call Paleo Valley 100% grass-fed bone broth protein powder, chocolate flavor, vanilla flavor, what I saw on Amazon, and an unflavored one.
That sounds odd.
It's a protein powder.
Yeah. That's a processed food to me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's still kind of sounds gross.
If I was going to have broth, I'd rather just have the real stuff.
Yeah.
Lioness Helix asks where to get fresh sardines. I don't know.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Portugal.
I mean, I would try something unique like World Foods Market, Trader Joe's, something like that. Maybe. I don't know.
You can get them in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
I got a friend that works over there.
Yeah, fishmonger. Broad's Biscuit says a fishmonger.
Lioness Helix asks, Jeff, do you have a channel, sir?
You're on it.
You're on it. It's right here.
I just piggyback on Bob.
Jeff.
No, I don't have a channel.
Jeff is my partner in crime. So
yeah, I don't have a channel. I don't have a website or anything like that. But you can find me over on carnivoretalk.com anytime you want.
He's a moderator here on my YouTube channel. I actually feature shorts with just him from our past Zoom calls on the channel. And yeah, he's a moderator over at carnivoretalk.com also. So like I said,
and I have been interviewed 4 times, twice by Dave and once by Carrie and once by Bob.
Yep. So his testimony's out there. She also asks, is calf liver and beef liver the same thing?
Yes and no.
Yep. Yeah,
same species, different age.
Yep.
Calf liver is just what it is. It's a calf. It's a baby that was taken young. And usually I'm going to assume, and I don't know this for a fact now, but because it's calf and it's probably, they butchered the calf for veal. And they're not going to waste the liver. So they sell the liver as calf liver. And yeah, it's still beef, but it's a younger beef. And so it's going to be a milder beef. It won't be as strong. And that's the appeal to calf liver.
Yep.
All right. Very good. Charger Mopar Rick is home from his friend's barbecue. Maybe he'll pop on here. Bacon Runner says, I was tested for vitamin A and D in December. I'm good. The reason I highlighted this is because I do agree with getting tested. If you take vitamin D and you just take small doses, you're probably fine. If you take large doses, then that's something you want to check, because that can be a problem. If you have too much, if your vitamin D gets too high. And so I think this is good to get tested. I also think that's the same with your potassium and your magnesium. Those are also things that you should every once in a while, get a lab panel done and check those levels. Make sure your kidneys are excreting those and you're not have too much potassium, because too much potassium can cause heart palpitations. Over 6, over 7, it could stop your heart. That's what they use to stop your heart in surgeries and stuff like that. And then vitamin D, toxicity is a real thing. So I take high amounts of vitamin D because of my kidneys. I spill most of my vitamin D in my urine, so I can get away with that. I take 10,000 IUs a day, and my vitamin D never gets over 55. I have a friend. He was taking 2,000 a day, and his got up to 120. His doctor said, "Whoa, you need to back off the vitamin D." But he also did a lot of work outside and got a lot of sun too. So, and his kidneys are pristine. So yeah, it's good to get tested for these things once in a while. If you're taking supplements, testing will tell you if you need to take supplements at all. It'll also tell you if you're taking too many supplements. So be cautious of supplements. By the way, that was on Carnivore Teacher's channel at 6 today. He did a live stream on supplements. I attended it, and he actually he covered it very well over on his channel. Steadfast, I've been on a deli, corned beef, and Swiss roll-up with sauerkraut kick lately. That sounds delicious. So sauerkraut might actually be a good thing. Can somebody say why?
What,
fermented.
Sauerkraut.
Microbiome.
Why might sauerkraut be acceptable?
Because it's
Because
fermented, but
fermented.
It's fermented, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
So-
fermented foods, if you're, a lot of the carnivores are okay with fermented foods, So sauerkraut usually makes the list for someone who's not quite as strict. So
I'm curious.
RFK Jr. is on a carnivore diet plus fermented foods. So that's kind of what he eats. The
So
health food.
Steadfast, I'd be curious to know, do you have a channel, or did you post a short about that? Because the reason why I asked that is I saw that today in a short, and I didn't get a chance to look at it because I was busy. But it was talking about Reubens, having a Reuben sandwich only without bread, and it looked like a roll up, looked like corned beef rolled up.
I know Jenny Mitch had that. I think that's where she got that idea from, is from
Okay.
Jenny Mitch.
Okay, I'll have to look that up because that looked mighty good. And I love corned beef. You won't find too many Southerners that say that, but I love corned beef.
Yeah, I like corned beef.
By the way, Kelly, I like your Farm All poster up there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I used to own 2 of them. I had a Super H and an H.
Yeah,
And I use the H for parts for my Super H.
I that's one of my favorite tractors is the International Harvester, but unfortunately I have a Deutz Alice in the shed because that was my dad's tractor.
Well, I sold both my Farm Alls so I could get the down payment for my John Deere. But I do miss my Farm Alls. They were cool tractors.
built like a tank.
Yep.
Linus Hughes thought I had a cigar in my hand. That was that beef jerky. I got a little hungry, so I just ate it. That's funny. All right, let's see here. Go back to the top of the list here. Hi, Bob. Watched your video on chronic kidney disease on carnivore. My other half has stage 3. He feels great, though, and we will be purchasing some blood work to check on his kidneys. Any extra suggestions? So I tried to be as thorough as I can on the carnivore video. So you have kidney disease if you're spilling protein in your urine, albumin. And so that probably happened, and that's why he got diagnosed with stage 3. Probably had a blood test, and they probably determined what stage he was in, using creatinine to calculate the EGFR, and that EGFR falls in a certain range, and that's considered stage 3. So the reason I made the video is that I want people to know that when you have kidney impairment and you switch to eating a high protein diet like the carnivore diet is, then creatinine is a waste product from the breakdown of protein. So is blood urea nitrogen, the BUN. So if you have impaired kidneys and you start a carnivore diet, or if you take creatine supplements or lift weights or something like that, you're going to produce more BUN and more creatinine, and those numbers are going to go up, and they're going to be flagged red on your blood results, and your EGFR is going to drop, and your doctor's going to say, you're killing your kidneys with this diet. Okay. That is not necessarily true. Okay. Now, there's another test called a cystatin C. And so you need to get the nephrologist to, when they ask for a renal panel, also request a cystatin C with EGFR. And that's another protein waste product that the kidneys excrete. But that has your exercise and your consumption of protein will not affect cystatin C. So, for instance, I was stage 4 EGFR of 21, and then I started the carnivore diet, and I watched my EGFR go down to 16, 13, 9, 6. Okay. And my doctors, my primary care physician, my nephrologist is on board because he knows what I know, and he's fine with it. Our primary care physician had a heart attack. He's like, how are you even alive? And he said, I don't get it. I got people coming in here to stage 3, way better blood work than you, and they look sick. They feel sick. They complain about being sick. And then you come in and I ask you how you're doing. You're like, I'm fine. And you actually sit here and look fine. I would have no idea you have kidney disease. And I think that's because of my diet and my vitamin D intake. But if you check my cystatin C, it's 24. It was actually 23, and it went down during the phenofibrate debacle. I made a video about that, but then it went back up afterwards. So, like, I've got this EGFR, according to my EGFR calculated with creatinine on a normal renal panel, I'm dead. I'm basically I'm a live streaming zombie. Okay, and according to my cystatin C with EGFR, I'm still stage 4. So just know that. Get a cystatin C also, because if he goes on a carnivore diet and starts eating more protein, him and you and your doctor might flip out when you see these numbers dropping, but that might not be. Those numbers are skewed from the eating the extra protein. That was the importance of that video. And again, mainstream medicine says protein is bad for kidneys.
Yep.
Before the phenofibrate debacle, I was making several micro improvements, no miracles, but my nephrologist was happy. And so I am basically using myself as a guinea pig to prove the point that no, it's not bad for kidneys. Now I got some issues I'm dealing with. So because of the phenofibrate debacle, now I'm dealing with high blood pressure. That can damage kidneys, so I got some other things I'm juggling with. But for the year and a half that I was carnivore before the phenofibrate debacle, I was showing slow micro improvements, no problems whatsoever. So I still swear by it. And I think I referenced a study in that video too that demonstrated that no, protein is not a problem at all on the kidneys. So that's it. That's my spiel there. Fries Biscuit says, I eat some sardines, cod livers, mackerels, mussels, and oysters each week. I suspect it's a genetic thing since I'm Scandinavian. Well, that's good because you're going to get some, good source of omega-3s and calcium and things like that. That's very good. Bacon Runner had shrimp and eggs today. Tomorrow's going to be beef ribs. Sounds delicious. Uncle Charlie, I was at Costco's the other day and they were giving away Carrie's cheese. I didn't try any because I'm afraid to eat cheese because I won't stop. And that's fine. That's if you do you know your weakness. And if cheese is a weakness for people. There's some people that can eat a pound of steak and feel full, and there's other people that can just eat cheese and keep eating and keep eating and keep eating and keep eating and keep eating, and because it's addictive. So yeah, if you're one of those that can't control yourself with cheese, then you gotta abstain from it. I know a lot of people like that. I love my cheese, so I still eat it. I'd probably lose weight faster if I cut it out. So. Linus Helix says, I'm not touching a peanut again for the rest of my life. I won't either. Well, generally speaking, because my personal food philosophy, my personal food philosophy is I will only eat what God or nature provided me to eat that will not kill me in its raw or make me sick in its raw state. Okay, so I have to be able to hunt it, milk it, pluck it off of a vine or a fig tree and eat it, and it won't make me sick. Okay, so a lot of beans or legumes, which a peanut is, you can't eat them in their raw state. You have to cook the toxins out of them to a certain degree. Kidney beans is a good example. Kidney beans, if you eat those raw, you will be horribly sick. They have to be cooked to cook the toxins out of them. Acorns are the same way. You can't just go picking up acorns and eating acorns. You got to boil them, dump the water, 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 about 7 times. And then you can eat the acorn because you got to get all the lectins out of it. So that's what I mean. When I say it's got to be something that God or nature provided that you can, and to me, that means you can eat it in its raw state and not die. So like, yeah, you can pluck a cucumber and eat it and not die, not get sick. You can pluck an apple and eat it, not get sick, but you can't pluck most legumes. You cannot just pluck them and start eating them without getting sick, in a mass quantity. I mean, I think we've all probably cracked off a green bean that grew in the garden and chewed on it or something, or a raw potato. A raw potato is not good for you, but we've all taken a piece and chewed on it, but I'm saying like eating it in any quantity is going to get you sick. So
yeah, look at her last comment to what you just said.
What's that?
Look at Linus Helix's last comment.
Oh, let me switch screens here. Oh, okay, I see it. Let me scroll down. I'll put it up on the screen. Oh, no, it's down in the corner. Okay, I'll only eat what I can run after. So snails, big turtles, and let me look at the screen. And cows. Cows are fast, but they run out of energy at some point. I can only eat when I run after. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very good. I like that. So that's her food philosophy. All right. Let me scroll back up to where I was here.
That's why I use horses to chase after my cows.
Yeah. Dan says, I got to cut back on the nuts and seeds, I guess. Perhaps, so.
Won't hurt.
Well, yeah, it definitely won't hurt. Yeah. All right. Many of the nuts are roasted in seed oils. The dumbest thing ever. You fry in seed oils. How do you roast something in a seed oil? I've never heard of that. I've never heard of any nuts.
Yeah.
What?
Many nuts are roasted in seed oil. Yeah.
That's not a roast, man. It's fried.
Well, it's a roasting process with a little bit of oil. They spray it in there.
They will put oil on the seeds or the nuts, and they'll put it through an oven to roast it. And that's where your seed oil soaks in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, one of the best smells I ever smelled back when I was a truck driver. I delivered a load of cardboard boxes to a peanut plant not too far south and west of where I live now. And oh my gosh, they was roasting peanuts that day to extract the oil out of them. And that was one of the most wonderful smells I ever smelled. Oh man, And I used to come across some good smells and bad smells when I drove a truck, but delivering to the bakeries was a great smell. Going to the peanut producers was a great smell when they was roasting for peanut oil. And I came to the conclusion, and this is for all the ladies out there, if a lady wears perfume to attract a man, she's wearing the wrong kind of perfume, because men ain't attracted to flowers. You want to attract a man, you need a perfume that's made out of, that smells like bacon, roasted peanuts, or bacon bread. You'll attract a man that way.
All right, so you know what? I just looked it up, and I guess there's two types of roasting. There's dry roasting and there's oil roasting. So
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So yeah, so don't get if you're going to eat nuts, don't eat oil roasted nuts. Very good, interesting. Brad Hagan, blood pressure was 148 over 92, 2 months, clean carnivore, now 117 over 77. We'll be stopping a small blood pressure pill soon. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, take the small pill, the low dose pill, remove it, and then keep checking at home, see what your blood pressure does. You'll probably be fine. Bride's Biscuit, I healed from 8 diagnosed diseases and many more conditions eating this way. Awesome.
That's great.
Way to
Yeah,
go.
I've healed from, when it comes to diagnosed, 1, ulcerative colitis. That's cured. And then, but I've healed a lot of conditions
Yeah.
that I had that weren't necessarily, officially diagnosed by a doctor, but I know that I had.
I think we all have.
Yeah. Linus Helix got rid of Diet Dr. Peppy on January 14th. All
Good
right.
for you.
It's good. 3 of us that have ditched the soda in recent months. Good.
Let's get you gone.
And Terry Girl says, I like carbonated water also, much more satisfying to drink. I will say, again, I plug it. I have no sponsorship whatsoever, but Saratoga. Oh my God, Saratoga is so good. And so is Polar.
Yep.
Saratoga is naturally carbonated. Polar is artificially carbonated, but they're so good because they're aggressively carbonated. I love bubbles. These things are so good.
I had that conversation with a lady in the grocery store last week.
Mm-hmm.
I buy one bottle a week, and
yeah, Kelly's got his Topo Chico there. So Topo Chico is also a good brand. That's right up there with Saratoga, in my opinion. What I don't like is, and everybody, and it seems like all these other keto carnivores love it, the San Pellegrino. That's not for me, man. I don't think this is good.
I don't think there's anything special about it.
I used to drink that a lot because I got it from Dr. Barry. That's how I started drinking San Pellegrino. But when the first time I had a Topo Chico, we have the Casey's. Well, now they're Casey's, but they used to be Casey's General Stores. They're primarily in Iowa, but they have them here in Missouri, and they're actually going across the country now. And the one close to my town, next town over, that Topo Chico, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to try this. And that's the first time I ever had a Topo Chico, because when I opened it up, that sucker started bubbling. And I'm like, now this is my kind of drink. Ever since that, that's all I drink was Topo Chico.
You want to add a little bit of that to your chaffles? Try that.
The carbonated water?
Yep.
Really?
Layer it up, fluff it.
About a tablespoon.
I'll have to try that.
For the small ones. Yeah.
That's why they add baking soda or baking powdered biscuits. You ever had baking powdered biscuits? It fluffs them up. It creates a carbonation.
Yep. Food science.
Yeah.
Food chemistry, we should say.
That's a cleaner version than the regular baking powder you get at the stores.
There's a variety of baking powders. Chemically speaking.
I'm gonna go to the restroom, and here's a comment that you guys can talk about, plus whatever else you want to talk about. I'll be back in 2 minutes. But Jason says, all I do is binge watch carnivore healing videos where people are cured within days, and it leaves me more depressed.
Yeah. I used to make fun of this on the internet, on YouTube. Oh, yeah. They were diagnosed with A1C of 14.999, and I ate one ribeye steak and it fell to 4.63. That was about 1 hour ago. And don't get in a hurry. Don't get in a rush. And if you read and watch enough, my blood pressure dropped rapidly when I went on my health journey. But I was also walking 5 miles every day. So was it the diet, the weight loss, or the exercise, or a combo of all three? Because I've seen a lot of other people with blood pressure. Oh, the diet didn't really help my blood pressure until 8, 10, 12 months, or was a year and a half, or I'm still struggling with my blood pressure. So, it's just like me. The only, now that I think about it, there's only two things I can think of that I changed in January: more butter and less. And I'm taking half the insulin I was taking a month ago. I don't know.
The thing is,
it's up there.
and I understand what he's saying about the healing videos. The thing is, very few of those people ever actually mention how long it took.
Well,
and we're all different. We're all different. The thing is, I have several people I talk to around the world that contacted me because of my videos that I reversed my atrial fibrillation. Well, they haven't reversed theirs, and supposedly they're doing carnivore. Theirs is better, but they haven't reversed it. So sometimes we're just too broken, to heal.
and Sarah Hallberg, in her 500-person study on very strict keto / carnivore, very low carb keto, she showed that the longer you've been diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, the longer it took for you to correct that condition. Okay.
And that makes sense. And
Yeah.
Chafee even says that. He says, you walk 10 miles into the woods, you got to walk 10 miles out.
Yeah. So, I'm grateful for a couple. I'm allergic to statins. I found that out 35, 40 years ago. Oh, you got high cholesterol, Paul. You're going on a statin. Okay. Fortunately, I was allergic to it. I think that saved me a lot of side effects and health issues that are out there with statins. I don't have because I never took it because I'm allergic to it. And the other thing is, genetically, I've got a makeup. Somehow, God saved me, or I don't know what happened, but I love seeing the look on my doctor's face. They go, "You've been diabetic for 35 years, and your kidneys are in excellent function. You don't look like a diabetic kidney," okay? And they just sit there and I think they're sometimes angry. This guy should have kidney failure already, okay? And I don't. My kidney function's very high. My eyes, I have no diabetic issues with my eyes whatsoever. And the doctors just shake their heads and go, they don't know why, okay? I got neuropathy in my feet, not severe, but not moderate either. It's kind of somewhere in between, but yeah, you're seeing more of the level-headed doctors like the Chafees and them. Yeah, it's going to take a while, and you gotta.
Not only that, but Paul, what I hate to see is when people, and I see it on the talk forums on Kiltz's Tribe, I see it on Carnivore Talk, when people compare themselves to others. Stop doing that. You are your own unique individual.
Yep.
And this diet is going to affect you different than it does me, or than it does Bob, or than it does you. You have got to run your own race. This is nobody else's race but yours. Be clean, do the best you can.
Yeah.
Use those healing videos as motivation to help encourage you to stay in the race and fight the good fight. But don't compare yourself to what somebody else does.
And don't let those influencers with a condescending attitude towards you that you haven't healed fast enough that attitude is out there. Okay,
No,
just
no.
don't worry about them. Okay, move on. Find another
Yeah, 'cause-
influencer that you like.
Yeah, because even when I produced my videos about my hip, because I had this hip issue way before Carnivore, and the only reason why I haven't had it fixed is because of lack of funds, and I can't afford to take off work until this recently. But every video I did, and I have the MRI copy of the MRI imagery that there is damage there, and it was severe deterioration. But I had several people say, well, I wouldn't have a surgery. I wouldn't do this. Try this, try that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It is damage. I have a physical leg discrepancy, and there is a flat spot, and it has to be replaced.
Yep.
And yes, I don't have pain there. You can feel. I can feel that deep groin, mild sensation pain, but it's nothing to take ibuprofen. It's nothing like I was before Carnivore when I had to take ibuprofen with the chronic inflammation. But when you have to have a lift in your foot, you have to sometimes walk with a cane, especially when you're in the snow or ice, so you don't slip to hurt yourself more. Yeah, it's got to be fixed. And it's like, Carnivore healed everything. What Carnivore did was stop the deterioration from happening further.
Right. And the thing is, don't judge me until you've walked in my boots.
Exactly.
You ain't been where I've been. You ain't done what I've done. You don't know what I'm going through. I empathize with you tremendously because I had to have my hip replaced. I was bone on bone. I could put no weight on that leg anymore. And I had to wait 3 months. I spent 3 months on crutches and on a cane, still working, until I could finally get the surgery done. And I'm not going to arbitrarily just go out and have a surgery on a whim. My right hip bothers me now after over 20 years of favoring my left hip. My right hip has a lot of arthritis in it. Carnivore helps with that. But before I started Carnivore, I went and had x-rays and MRI done of it, see if I was about bone on that hip too, And they said, no, you just got a lot of arthritis in it. If you want, we can go ahead and set you up for a replacement and take care of that. And I went, what? For arthritis? No, I don't think so. No, when I can't walk anymore, I'll come back and see you. But until then, I'll put up with the occasional pain.
And similarly, the reason I started Carnivore
the thing that I always remember. Beep,
beep, beep, beep, beep. Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay. Similarly, the reason I started Carnivore was because I wanted to reverse kidney disease. So I had seen several testimonials from people who did just that. They went from stage 2 to back to normal. They went from stage 3 back to stage 2, stage 1. And I've even seen someone who went from stage 5 to completely normal. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. It has not happened for me. I've healed a dozen other things, lost weight, healed a dozen other things. My biggest victory is ulcerative colitis. Like narcolepsy's gone, and the periodontitis is gone, and brain fog is gone, and all kind. I used to. So I was at a carnivore meetup, and someone had a list of things that they've improved, and they no longer produced massive quantities of earwax. I'm like, you know what? I used to have that problem. I don't anymore either. That's gone. But guess what? Has not healed one bit, and that's my kidneys. So it's kind of depressing. I understand the feeling there, and but just like Kelly's hip, the damage is done, and like my kidneys, the damage is done, and it kind of depends on what damage. And mine, I think, was torched by pharmaceuticals, and not by bad diet, hypertension, things like that. So I think it depends on what it was. So yeah, not everything's going to be an instant cure. Things may improve. You may be able to tolerate it better, and or you might need more time. So I'll give you, for instance, did anybody see Michaela Peterson's latest video?
No, but I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet.
So, Michaela Peterson, had a slew of issues. She's the one that coined the term lion diet. She's been eating nothing but ruminant meat, water, and salt for 8 years, and vodka. So vodka once in a while. She can tolerate that once in a while. But anytime she's tried to eat anything else, she has crazy, crazy flare-ups, arthritis, other issues, and everything. She can only eat ruminant meat, water, and salt.
Well, she'd had what, 2 joint replacements by the time she was like 18 or 16 or something like that.
That's right. So anyway, she's been eating this way for 8 years, and now she's had some other issues that she's addressed, like mold in her home, and then there was something else physiologically wrong with her that she had treated with some medication. And for the first time, she's been able to eat something non-carnivore. And that's what her latest video is. She says, after 8 years, she's like, you can't call this girl a carnivore anymore because she's able to eat a few other things and not get a reaction. So the point there is, it took her 8 years to heal to where she could drift off her elimination diet somewhat, And I think that's probably true for a lot of us. Is, you think how many decades you spent damaging your body, and then you're not going to do 30 days of carnivore and come out of that a new man, like you just like you were dead and got resurrected. That's unreal. That's not necessarily realistic, So you spent years destroying your body. It might take years of clean eating to let your body heal from that damage. And Michaela Peterson's a good example. 8 years, lion diet, and now she's finally able to eat some plants, and she's thrilled about it, and she has every reason to be so, So, good for her. I wish that kind of success on everybody, So yeah, don't get too depressed.
You're gonna make me feel bad, Jason. You're gonna make me feel bad about telling my story and the healings I've had when I know people that haven't had the same healings. Now you're gonna make me feel bad about doing that. I feel like a braggart.
And there's various things too. Like there's things there's benefits I've experienced that Jeff hasn't experienced.
Yep.
So.
Well, I've got a good friend of mine that he's still struggling with his blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
My blood pressure straightened out within a couple of months.
I'm struggling with blood pressure.
But
my skin tags went away.
Mine didn't.
So and Jeff's hasn't. So so it varies. Oh,
I've even heard people saying that their hair color comes back. Well, that ain't happening here.
Yeah. I'm still bald as can be. In fact, I tried to grow it out a couple months ago. I was going to grow it out, and man, it looks worse than it did when I started shaving it. I was like, oh my gosh, I look like one of those friar monks.
Some of my
right here, all the way around. Oh,
some of my hair color has come back. I don't know if all of it's going to come back, but I gave myself a haircut the other day, and I'm like, man, I got a little bit more darker hair than I usually do, but same areas that's still gray is still gray. So it may not be a change, but you know what? If it doesn't, as long as it don't turn loose, I'm okay.
Mine may just be too far gone, but that's all right. My wife likes my silver hair.
Well, that's the problem for me, is it's getting too far gone. It keeps getting thinner and thinner.
Yeah, but
mine ain't doing that. I'm lucky. I'm one of the fortunate ones. My dad was partially bald, but my grandpa, full head of hair when he died at 98.
Let's see here. Michaela and Kelly Hogan got me into carnivore. Yeah, for me it was Dr. Barry. Because I was doing keto again, and I was looking for keto recipes and some keto information. I didn't feel like busting out Dr. Atkins' book and reading it again, so I was like, "Hey, it's 2023, man. Books, forget books, man. I'll get on YouTube." and Dr. Barry started popping up all the time, and I was like, okay, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. It totally reminded me of Atkins' book. And then he started having these carnivore videos, and I'm like, what? This guy's crazy. Carnivore, what?
Yeah. Well,
And then I decided to give it a try.
for me, it was a great blessing. My son's the one who turned me on to it. He preached the gospel of carnivore to me, and then he turned me on to the three main carnivore doctors, and that's where I learned everything I needed to learn about it.
And didn't you say he's not a carnivore?
Yeah.
He's come back to it.
Oh, he has. Good.
Yeah, he's come back to it. He started getting really out of shape, working hard, stress on the job. He works oil fields. He's a wireline engineer. And he was it was just tough on him. He lives out in the field, for weeks on end, and it was just getting tough for him. But he started having a lot of issues, a lot of back problems, a lot of back pain. He was putting on weight, and like I told him one day, you're the one that told me how to do it. Now you need to take your own advice.
Yeah.
Well, he finally reversed it, and he's back on carnivore again.
Yeah, he had to learn it himself.
Yeah, and a lot of people got to make that mistake.
With my relatives, you can't say, hey, I was talking till I was blue in the face, and you just got to let them, once their body starts going out, then and if I'm not saying anything, then maybe they'll come back to me and say, hey, you're very healthy, David.
But
relatively,
I'll never forget. Forget that night when my son was talking to me about it. It was after my fourth AFib attack that put me in, and I would have severe AFib attacks, and they would put me in ICU for a couple of days. And I remember after my fourth one, I'd already had a cardiac ablation. It didn't work. And my son, he asked me, Dad, is this gonna shorten your life? And I said, yeah, more than likely. 5 to 6 times higher risk for stroke now. And he says, well, I'd like to, if you'll listen to me with an open mind, I'd like to talk to you about diet and nutrition, if you don't mind. I said, I got an open mind, shoot. I ain't never looked back. And he didn't just tell me about it. He brought the receipts with him. He turned me on the Chafee and Baker, and like Bob, I fell in love with listening to Baker. I like the way he talks, the way he explains things. And then that, Baker, Chafee, and Barry. I just went down the rabbit holes after that and found that there was a tremendous community out there that'll help hold you together and help you through everything. And, but I knew I had to change something in my life because I was dying. It was killing me. My whole body was in constant pain. I've said it before. At that time, I was a 66-year-old man that felt like he was 86 and just waiting at death's door. Now I'm a 69-year-old man, and I feel like I'm in my 40s.
Yep.
All right. Bacon Runner asks, I'm going to air fry beef suet. Is that crazy or worth it? I don't know.
Cut it up into small little cubes, and you're going to save the rendered fat, which falls down below. And you'll have little crunchy bites. That's the way I would do it anyway. That's the way I do it.
In the air fryer? And you kind of pour out your tallow and then eat the fat bites?
Just eat the bites, yeah. And then sometimes if I want to pour the tallow onto the hot, tallow onto them, and then I'll eat it with a fork. Mm-hmm. I'll salt it too. And if I'm going to do it in the air fryer, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting. Very good. So it doesn't sound crazy. Sounds like it might be worth it. All right, Brian Dish, check your email. I did. That was a screen cap of the different flavors from the Paleo Valley: chocolate, vanilla, salted caramel, turmeric, ginger, even. Steadfast. I will also roll them in Egg Life wraps. We're talking about different things you can make. Egg Life wraps, by the way, is Bob approved, Carnivore approved, in my opinion. They're literally just egg like tortillas made with egg whites only, and I think they're great. That's a good way to add variety because you can throw Philly steak in there with some cheese. You can throw taco meat in there with some sour cream and cheese. You can throw lunch meat in there and have a cold cut wrap. So yeah, you want variety.
I do that time to time. I go to Aldi's and I'll get some cheese. I'll get those Egg Life wraps. I have chosen avocado oil mayo there at work, and then I'll get the lowest carb or the lowest sugar amount ham because I like ham, but I get the lowest what I can get there. Usually it's maybe under a carb, and other than that, that's what I do now and then to break up the monotony because sometimes getting just eating beef or burger or eggs all the time can get a little old, so you got to break up the monotony. So that's a good one there.
And I'll tell you, if you take those carb life or egg life wraps, what I like to do is I'll brush them with butter, and then I'll toast them in my cast iron skillet, just like I would if I was heating up a tortilla. Because I do the same thing with tortillas. I'll toast them in the skillet and heat them up. I do that with those Egg Life wraps. It's a whole game changer. Makes great breakfast tacos.
We'll have to try that. I never toasted those because I didn't know how they would be toasted.
It takes that sponginess out of them, toast them, get them nice and tanned, they're good.
All right. So Bacon Runner's going to try the air fryer beef suet thing. Bride's Biscuit says, I relate to Dr. Barry's common sense, humanity, and sense of humor mix. I agree. So he's my biggest influence is Dr. Barry. I like Dr. Barry. I do like Chafee and Baker. I like Hampton, Kiltz, and Siwis. I watched all them. And but yeah, I would say of all of them though, Barry is my biggest influence.
I'll tell you a little story about Dr. Barry, about me, how I got started. It was a little over about 5 years ago, after first of the year 2021, and I was laying in bed, I fell asleep, and I guess this video come on. This doctor was on there, and I didn't know who it was. And usually you'll see someone trying to advertise something, and the video says 7 ways to boost your testosterone naturally for free. And I'm like, well, what is this quack? What is this quack on here? And what is he selling? And after a while, I was shocked. Like, no, he's not selling anything. He's actually giving real advice. And I stayed up for 2 hours after that, watching Dr. Barry videos. And the last video got me started. And I technically started carnivore, but I end up more keto when I discovered Dr. Berg, a few weeks later. But he said there was a video. He says, if you're watching this tonight, why wait till Monday? We always have that. We want to wait. We'll wait till Monday and we'll never get started. And he says, if you're watching this video tonight, why wait? Start tomorrow. If you're watching this video in the morning, why wait and start on Monday? Start it today. And that's what got me started. The next day, I just started the low carb, healthy, proper human diet lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, unfortunately, I lost over 85 pounds on keto. But unfortunately, I guess a year later, I started discovering the keto breads, that totally keto breads, the keto treats, stuff like that. Plus, I ended up falling off a few times, and that's what slowly gained half of my weight back. Plus, wasn't aware of, I didn't understand about lectins and oxalates and stuff like that either with the plants.
Yeah, I was the same way. I would say my story, I go back to the 90s. I wanted to lose weight, and my next door neighbor gave me a copy of Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution. And I read it from cover to cover, and I was hooked, and it made sense. And so I started applying it, and I dropped a lot of weight. And but you know, like most of us, I didn't stick to it. So eventually I got back into, you know, Taco Bell and pizza, you know, and the weight came back on, and then I'd go on it again and take the weight back off. And then one of the things I really enjoyed was trying to make all these different recipes, you know, but I didn't realize that I was just trying to mock foods that I shouldn't be eating. You know, that was the problem with it. I was trying to create something that tastes like pasta, that tastes like pizza, but it's not, but it's supposed to be keto, you know, low carb friendly, Atkins friendly or something. And I think that was the problem, one of the downfalls of it, that why a lot of people failed. But then the big food corporations started to catch on. So all of a sudden at the stores, now you had low carb protein bars, and you had low carb tortillas and low carb bread. And it was like, oh, cool. I don't have to make these from scratch anymore. I can go to the store and get it. I fell for that, just like everyone else
Me
did.
too. Yep.
You know, and so like I would go down, I'd buy a loaf of bread that was keto bread. I'd buy tortillas that were keto tortillas, and a bag of something. They for a while there, you could even go down the cereal aisle and buy keto breakfast cereal, you know, and I'd buy that. And the next thing I know, I'm not losing a pound. In fact, I'm putting weight on. And I'm like, I don't get it. I'm eating all this keto stuff, but I was an idiot, you know. I was an idiot. So then
I was a big sucker.
Well, so then we get back to, you know, 2022 ish, and I'm like, well, I got to lose some weight. I got to do something to stop my kidney decline. I need to get back in shape. I know I'm 40 something now. It's now or never. It's either this or die, you know. And I started getting on YouTube and looking up keto information. And that's when I came across Dr. Barry, and he would say, you know, keto, real keto, is half your plate's fatty meat, the other half is low carb veg. Anything you buy at the store that has the word keto on the package is bullshit.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's not keto. And then that's like, and I was like, you know what? That makes perfect sense. And that's why I said, I kind of, if I went back to Atkins' book and the way I was doing it, read it and did it then before big food bastardized the keto diet, I'd have been all right. And that was like a revelation to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I was a sucker. that's why the keto diet. I'm like, why did the keto diet stop working? You know, did my body adjust? No, it's not. It never stopped working. It's just I started incorporating. I let big food taint it and find its way.
Big food are fishermen.
Yeah,
the fishermen. They put the right bait on it, and they'll snag you every time. What's the big trend right now? What have you noticed out there? The big trend. Everybody's advertising it.
Protein.
That's it.
Yep.
Oh. Everything's got. I saw potato chips at the store the other day. They were calling them protein chips. Uh-huh. Give me a break. And yet there's people that are gonna bite on that bait right there. Uh-huh. They're gonna go for it. And I did the same thing as you, Bob. I was very successful with Atkins. Atkins made a ton of sense to me, and I was very successful on it. But I followed it by the book, you know, and I never went. My limit was 60 grams of carbs. You know, once you get into your maintenance phase, I was 60 grams of carbs for me. But carb creep started coming in with what? The Atkins food, the Atkins bars, different, you know, sweets and whatnot. And one thing just led to another. And next thing I know, I'm eating like I did before. You know, so yeah. But now the new thing, and everybody's got to watch for it. Don't let that protein fool you. I don't care how much protein's in it. Look at all the junk that's in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's the trend right now. And so I'm kind of expecting, like, you know, with the new food pyramid, you know, I'm expecting big food to push out products, and it'll say on the bag, contains only real food.
Yeah. Oh, them people are sneaky. They're evil. They are out for one thing, that is to get you hooked on their food and keep you hooked. That's all it's about, because that's how they make their money.
There's an article I saved it. I'm going to share it on Carnivore Talk here probably tomorrow. And it's an interesting article about how a lot of big food companies and fast food restaurants, they've been taking a hit in recent years because of the move towards unprocessed food and stuff. It's really interesting. So, but yeah, so Big Food's got to come up with something because they're not going to throw in the towel that easy. All right. So we got 10 comments. So it's 10:24. You know, the official closing time is 10:30, although we oftentimes just keep this drag until about 11. But if you would like to join us on screen, this is a last call. I'm about to paste that link over here in the chat. We don't care if you're animal based. We don't care if you're keto, ketovore. I don't care if you're vegetarian, as long as you're polite and not a jerk. You know, join us on screen and shoot the breeze with us. So it's open mic night. We're just all fellow family members, you know, looking out for the betterment of our health.
Well, Bob, I got a question.
Sure.
So last week, was it you that talked about DAO enzyme? Was it on
I may have. That was
it could have been another.
I'm tired. I'm trying to remember the context for that.
For histamine.
That was on the histamine breakdown.
Yeah,
DAO breaks down histamines.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd never heard of it before. And like most of the stuff, especially in the beginning that you all talked about, and I love all of that stuff, all the different types of meats and, you know, the pork products, and I love eggs and all of that. And I've got histamine issues. And so I've been on Lion, and I've done 2 90-day stints, and I've just, you know, I'm on my 33rd day of Lion now. And I see remarkable improvement in my body. And anyway, because you talked about that, I got this off of Amazon. And I'm trying it 15 minutes before each meal. So anybody that was listening to all that and you've got some histamine issues, it's DAO, Solar-A, DAO enzyme. I don't know, it was $19 or whatever. And this is basically a 1 month supply, I think. But I'm going to try it, and I may be able to add some stuff back in. I'm just doing this just because I eat hamburger, and because it's been chopped up, that can cause histamine, and also the cryopack meat that I get. I've been told that's got histamine in it because it's aged for 15 days about. And so I'm just, even though I'm doing just beef, I'm taking one of these before the meal. And so I'm going to let you guys know, but thank you. I couldn't remember if it was you or not, but I was thinking it was on this talk.
That was our theme last week. Our theme for the night was histamines. Yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of that stuff that we're, you know, it's not vegetables or anything, but it's beef products or animal products the canned meats and the canned fish, all that stuff's got histamine in it, and just by the nature of the way it's processed and stuff. And so I'm going to let you all know how this goes, and see if I notice any difference with that.
Well, and be aware also, your body makes histamines.
Yeah.
In fact, you actually need histamines. You know, you need, because they're part of the your immune defenses. The thing is,
mine are working overtime.
Your body also produces DAO, diamine oxidase. Your body produces it, but if you have an overabundance of histamine, or you're not putting out enough DAO, then the histamines take over, and they no longer become your friend. They now become your irritant.
Yeah, so I'll be eager to hear if the DAO supplements have helped you. So, all right. Is there now? Does it tell you? Is there a range, like start with 1 and maybe increase to more over time, or what's the dosage say?
Well, this is one of the higher doses. Some of them are like 15 or 20 HDU is the units that but this is 60,000. So Some of them say like 20,000, take them 3 times a day. Well, this is one of them. I only eat once a day. So still, if you're taking 20,000, that's 60,000. If you're doing 3 meals, so I do 1 meal. So I just thought, well, I'll just buy the one that says 60,000 HDU. And because I usually just, now today it was weird. Of course, I've been really, really busy and active. Today I actually had 2 meals. I had about 1.5 pounds of beef this morning. And then when I got home, right before I got on with you guys, I had another 1.5 pounds of beef. So gosh, 3 pounds of beef today. It's just bizarre, but my body wanted it, so I gave it to it. You know, it's just beef and water, and I do the electrolytes, by the way, and I tried to get off of them, and I just get the cramps, and so I went back on them. Now, and speaking of which, and this will be the last thing, but this is what I do, and it's $5 a month, and it's just clean. And for people who need electrolytes, and I know you guys, this has probably got way too much potassium in it for you guys, but this is what I use, and it's $29 for the bag, and it comes with this little spoon, and so it's just a little spoonful in a glass of water, and it's so much cheaper than doing LMNT or something like that. And what I do is I pour it out of this bag and I put it in this little ball jar, and then I put this little scoop right in here, and first thing in the morning, and also before bed. And so that lasts me about what, 5-6 months. So, you know, like I say, it's about at $29.95 for that bag. And it's if anybody wants to know, the brand is Fast Light, and that's LYTE, no sugar electrolytes, if you're looking it up on Amazon. For anybody,
those are the serving dosages listed on the front. And that actually looks good. They're not crazy high. Your LMNT, I think, would have like a lot more sodium and a lot more potassium. So I kind of like that better, because I don't think we need I think some of these products are overkill. That looks like it's more reasonable. So, and
it's exponentially cheaper than getting the stuff in the individual bags.
Yeah. It's usually you're paying for packaging, you know.
Yeah, for what it's worth. So.
Yeah. All right, very good. Thanks for sharing.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Lioness Helix, can someone email all these tests and the test labels? I'd like to see if I'm a normal human, or I'd like to see if I have issues, which I know to be true. So was that something we were discussing, or is that something that was in the chat? I didn't see anything in the chat. I might have glossed over it, though. Things that we test for. The basic would be a CMP, complete metabolic panel. And then add to that, that'll check your kidneys, that'll check your liver. You can add an electrolyte panel, and you can add vitamin D25. Those, I think, are kind of all the basics, for the hot spots when it comes to supplements and stuff. And you can order them yourself at ownyourlabs.com if you're in the USA, in a state that lets you order your own labs. You'll have to have a LabCorp account. That's where the results will get emailed to. But they're cheap. Ownyourlabs.com is cheap. Or you can have your doctor order them, pay the copay.
And on their website, they have a list of all the tests they do, and they've got them split up for both men and women.
And you could go beyond that. You could do, if you're interested, you could do, sex hormone globulin. You could do thyroid panels. You could whatever you want. But a lot of those are completely unnecessary unless you've got some sort of condition you're thinking that might be addressed by that. Like if you're struggling to lose weight, thyroid could come into play there. It might be worth checking. So, which you say here in the next comment, highlighted, weight's not budging. Back info, I've been stressed, but the weight hasn't moved either for about 2 months. I'm starving all the time. So this could be a variety of things. Could be sex hormones, could be thyroid, could be the fact that you're starving all the time. Maybe you're not eating enough and your metabolism has put on the brakes because it thinks you're in a famine. And it's hard to tell.
Could be your body's adjusting.
Yeah, sometimes, like I would lose weight in phases. Like I would drop 10 pounds and then not lose anything for like 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden drop 5 more and then not lose anything for weeks, and then all of a
I'd
sudden,
go as long as 3 months.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a thing in my diet, because I wasn't in it for the weight loss. The weight loss just came along. I was in it for the health improvements. But yeah, I'd go along and I'd stall out, and I weighed myself every day, even though they say you're not supposed to. But I kept a journal, and that was my thing. And it's what we haven't talked about in a long time. But I advise everybody, especially in the beginning, keep a journal so that you know what you're eating, you know what you're exercising, you know what you're doing, and you can say how things are affecting you, and you can go back and review this. Yeah, I was enjoying the weight loss, and I'd hit a stall, and I remember what I think it was Dr. Berry had talked about it at one time, that, sometimes your body just has to reset. It's getting used to doing what you're doing. It's healing, just keep doing what you're doing, because your body is smarter than you are, and it will optimize itself. It will get to where it needs to be, and you don't have to do anything to help it. And so I took that advice. And what I ended up doing is when I hit a stall, I kept doing what I was doing. I didn't do any fasting. I didn't do anything to try to trick my body. And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, boom, I start losing again. And I did that on 2 or 3 occasions. And eventually I got to where I had to start adding things back into my diet, such as dairy, to keep from losing too much weight.
I got a question.
Okay.
I'm going to try to phrase this the right way. On average, the standard American diet versus the average carnivore diet, is the average carnivore diet lower in histamines than the standard American diet? Kind of a histamine question. I'm just curious.
It depends, because there's histamines in like aged beef and aged meat, but there's histamines in a lot of plants too. So it kind of depends what the person's eating.
All right. So it could be the standard American diet's worse than the carnivore diet as far as histamines go.
Could be, depending what you're shoveling in your gullet.
Well, then add on top of that the oxalates, the phytochemicals, the glyphosates.
Yeah.
You're adding a lot more poisons into it than just the histamine, because the histamines is fighting all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Because histamine isn't poison or anything. Histamine is a defense mechanism.
To
help fight that stuff. It's kind of like when you run a fever. You get sick, you run a fever. The fever is not a bad thing.
Right.
Granted, the fever can kill you if it gets too bad, but the fever is your body actually fighting off the infection. So, in fact, speaking of Dr. Berry again, he says, don't treat the fever. Let the fever run, because it's there for a reason. That is your body fighting an infection. Let it fight it.
So, like here, I got this document here. It says high histamine foods examples are like fermented, pickled, or preserved foods. Tomato, spinach, eggplant, and avocado they're high histamine, directly influence histamine levels. Then you have something called histamine liberators. So they're not necessarily high histamine, but they cause your body to release more histamine. Strawberries, passion fruit, walnuts, cashews, shellfish, chocolate, citrus, tomato sauce, and alcohol. They release endogenous histamines from your mast cells. And then you've got what's called biogenic amines, amines, in foods such as pineapple, grapefruit, banana, kiwi fruit, oranges, pawpaw, pears, raspberries, and legumes share the same degradation pathway as histamine. These compete for diamine oxidase at the expense of histamine breakdown. So there's a whole host of common plant foods that people eat regularly, that could all be producing histamine, causing your body to release more histamine, or blocking your diamine oxidase from doing its job. So it kind of depends. So, I mean, but not everybody, eating standard American diet is eating a bunch of fruits and vegetables. They're eating a bunch of basically grains, chips, sugar, sugar, potato chip, sugar, Dorito, sugar, So bread. So oh, let's see here. Bride's Biscuit makes some good comments. One of them is the body will always prioritize healing over weight and body recomposition. This is outside any negative influence from stress, sleep, or other variables that influence metabolic processes. And then she made another comment right here. We're going to show these back to back. And that is one thing I learned under carnivore. I absolutely go through phases. Weight moves when it's ready to, but I always continue healing.
Bingo.
Yeah. Very good comment there. So yeah, those two comments are related. That's when it comes to, we're talking about, your weight loss stall. There could be a variety of reasons for it. Then you have to start trying different things. Try eating more, try eating less, try changing your macros, try intermittent fasting. Are you eating 3 times a day? Maybe try eating 2 times a day. And then there's always, yes, it's a real thing. Go check. You can start checking, thyroid, sex hormones, and see if those are coming into play too. It does seem to me that women are at a slight disadvantage. So men, seem to burn fat at a faster rate, probably because we have higher metabolisms, because we have bigger body sizes, more muscle mass to maintain. So
active jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see here. Michaela apparently missed arugula. I don't remember what she said she had. I don't know if it was arugula or what. I can't remember.
I can't imagine missing that.
I listened to it on the way home. Yeah, I don't remember her mentioning arugula, because I'd have said the same thing as I do now. I don't even know what arugula is.
Some kind of
lettuce.
It's like a cross between lettuce and grass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a dandelion leaf.
Okay.
Smaller,
Right.
yeah.
I think I've seen it in some
right.
salad mixes. Okay. Michaela and Kelly Hogan got me into carnivore. Very nice. Yes, both of them are very influential. Kelly Hogan had a recent video that was really good. And she talked about how 117 days last year, she had almost nothing but fat.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I saw that one.
And her blood work turned out fine. In fact, her LDL went down. So it wasn't every day. She would have like protein. She would make sure to have a protein every other day, but she was having every other day. She was eating almost entirely fat in the form of butter and cream, because that's what she was craving. And and her blood markers improved as far as modern medical standards are concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty interesting. And we know that if you eat less than 9% protein, 91% or more fat, 9% protein a day, you will trigger FGS or FGF21 hormone, and the weight will melt off. So,
really?
Yes. Yes, indeed. That's why that sugar diet works. Remember the sugar diet was a big trend?
I'm recalling. I thought that video was outstanding. I thought that was. I've never listened to her very much, but I've started, and yeah.
Yeah. So the people on the sugar diet would eat high carbohydrate in the form of candy and fruit, and low protein, and then their weight would melt off. And that's because they were triggering that FGS21 hormone. So you can do the same thing, but instead of doing sugar, do fat,
You see that one faded away pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the clowns that were promoting it aren't even doing it anymore.
Yeah. Because what I do every day is in the Google or the YouTube search bar, I put carnivore diet,
Yeah.
and I set the limit on it for 1 day,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go through what's ever there, and that's like how I found her Kelly Hogan's 117-day thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a video worth watching. All right, Jason says thoughts on being healed enough where it's okay to add things in without having reactions. Say in a SHTF scenario, it would ideal we could eat carbs if necessary without having reactions. What's a SHTF?
Shit is the fan.
Stuff hits the fan.
Oh, okay. And
I'm sorry if I
scenario.
don't
Okay.
understand.
So maybe there's humans all over the world that eat carbs like crazy and they don't have any negative reactions. It depends on how damaged you are and how healed you are.
You wouldn't know until you tried it.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's the basic thing.
Most people that do a carnivore diet, they don't approach this with the mentality, I'm carnivore for life. Most people recognize it for what it originally started as, and that's an elimination diet. So you eliminate plants and processed foods for 30, 60, 90 days, 120, 6 months, 1 year. And then you gradually reintroduce different foods to see how your body reacts to it. So like you've gone for 90 days and now you want to, okay, you're craving an apple. You want to see if you can bring back apples. You start eating apples. You start having an apple a day. Okay. Well, you do that for a couple weeks. Do you have stomach pains? Do you have bloating? Do you have gas? Do you all of a sudden you have crazy diarrhea? Like you listen to your body, and you're like, man, these apples ain't cutting it. So you get rid of the apple again and for a couple weeks and you return to normal and you feel better. And you're like, okay, apples are out. And then you try something else. Oh, I'm going to try broccoli. You bring in broccoli for a couple weeks every day. Listen to your body, your body. And if your body reacts fine and it doesn't, and nothing happens, heck, eat broccoli for the rest of your life. You're fine with it. That's the whole principle of elimination diet. And that goes all the way. I know that goes back to at least Atkins, because of his book too, same way. Induction phase, and after induction, gradually start adding different food groups back. See what your body does. If it stalls your weight loss or makes you sick, get rid of it. Move on to the next thing. And that was the purpose of the Atkins diet through phases 2, 3, and 2 and 3. You would find out 1, what was your carbohydrate threshold. And 2, what were the food groups you had to abstain from? That's what you were supposed to learn for yourself. And then stage 4 was called Atkins for life. That's now that this is the way you're going to eat for the rest of your life, which is great in theory, but that's where most people end up slipping, So yeah, so in a stuff hits the fan scenario, carbohydrate foods is better than no food. If you're starving, if you're all of a sudden you're in a concentration camp, and you have no idea when you're going to get out, and all they do is bring you some sort of grain-based porridge every day at the same time, you're going to eat it. You're going to eat it.
If I was in that survival mode, I would go with rice as opposed to wheat.
I would agree. Yeah,
I'd have to know what the scenario was really to completely answer that question, just because what a stuff hits the fan moment for him may not be the same for me.
Right.
It's like for instance, people always talk about they go out to eat with, friends or family, what do they do? And for me, I plan ahead because prior planning prevents piss poor performance, so I'll look up the restaurant online. If it's a spur of the moment thing and we go there, I'll wait till I get there. If there's nothing on the menu I can eat or that I want to put into my body, then I'll just fast. Just bring me some water. And I know a couple of restaurants like that. Now, for instance, so we've got an Italian restaurant in town. You know, we got a small town here, and we got an Italian restaurant in town, and we were looking for a place to eat, so we went there. And usually, I can find something to eat, and I'll go through the menu, and there was just nothing on there I could eat until I got to they had wings. And I said, okay, well, I can eat wings. Now, I know darn well they're going to fry them wings in seed oil. So that was my stuff hit the fan moment for me. I was hungry. I wanted to eat. I didn't feel like fasting. They did have meat that I could eat. The bad thing is it was going to be in seed oils, but I knew that. I went ahead and ate them. And best wings I've had, bar none. Excellent wings. I'll go back and eat them things again. I don't care if they are cooked in seed oils. It was darn good, you know. But I've done it that one time. That was several months ago. You know, it'll probably be, you know, several months or a year before I have them again. You know, but that was one of my moments where I just I weighed the options. I rarely ever have any kind of seed oils. So I figured I could have that. Now, if I react to seed oils, like some people do, I think I remember Pop Carnivore talking about he ate something that was cooked in seed oils, and boom, he's on the pot, you know. And me, they don't seem to affect me that way. So I can tolerate them in small doses like that. But if you can't tolerate them, then that's something you have to avoid. But you'll find out real quick whether you can tolerate them or not.
And now, by way of comparison, I'm married with children, and every once in a while they want to go out to eat, and it's kind of natural. So, and I'll get their input. I'm not going to drag them to a steakhouse every time because we have steak here almost daily, so it's kind of redundant to go to a steakhouse. They're usually wanting to go out. They want a break from that too. So oftentimes the son will choose between Olive Garden or the local Mexican place. And the wife will choose between those. It's just the wife and I. We might end up at a steakhouse, but she'll choose something basic like Applebee's, And so we're talking once, maybe twice a month. Now, when I was my first year in carnivore, I was that guy that would say, "Hey, I can't have this. I can't have this, and can you maybe remove the sides and the salad and just give me more meat?" And then it would be really difficult about it, But now that I've achieved my goal weight, I'm less strict. And so if we go to a restaurant like, say, the Olive Garden, okay, there's almost nothing to eat at the Olive Garden. It's pasta. It's a pasta emporium. But they do have this one dish, this chicken breasts, and they have some sort of sauce on it with some like a couple garlic cloves and some tomatoes, and then there's a side of broccoli. I'll eat that. That's just fine. I'm not touching the breadsticks, and I might or might not touch the salad, but that's like, that's the one time that month that I'm going to eat that way, because the rest of my life I'm back to carnivore, so I don't mind. Like I said, my food philosophy is about, it's got to be natural, something that humans would have eaten thousands of years ago without getting sick. So those fall into those categories. If I'm going to cheat, I don't mind cheating with single ingredient whole foods. If I'm going to cheat, I'm going to cheat with keto. If I'm going to cheat, I'm going to cheat animal based. What I'm not going to do is cheat with the caramel pudding sundae, carrot cake, chocolate decadent double brownies, swimming in fudge. I'm not going to have any of that, and I'm not going to have, I'm usually not going to have any of the free bread either. So, because that's wheat.
That's
I have a big thing.
That's excellent advice.
So, yeah.
Now, if you want a real hit the fan moment, you do like what I've done in the past, and that's get dropped off in the middle of Texas brush with nothing but my clothes on, and go out there and live for a month. Now then, you will eat carbs,
I
and you will enjoy them until you develop the tools where you can start killing your own meat. You know, I've eaten the acorns, I've eaten the cactus, I've eaten wild onions. I'll eat them in a heartbeat because that's what our ancestors did.
Right.
When they didn't have meat, that's why they were called hunter-gatherers. Hunter first, gatherer second. When they didn't have the meat, they gathered. And that's what I've done on my survival training courses. You know, you go hungry for about 3 days and then you start catching on. You start learning what you can eat. You know, and then as you develop the tools that allow you to kill game, then you switch over to eating meat as much as possible.
All right. 10:55. Let's try and go through some of these here. I only have 7 starred, and I see one more I want to address beyond that. So Frank Calabrese says, Bob, regarding your blood pressure, silly question, but have you tried drinking no more than 8 200 milliliter glasses of your water per day to see if BP drops, even though you have stage 4 CKD? I don't keep track of the quantity of water that I drink. However, I know where you're going with this. So one of the things that raises blood pressure is the amount of fluid in your blood. And that's one of the reasons why I quit drinking soda, because I was sucking that stuff down like there was no tomorrow. I mean, I have this big 40-ounce thermos, you know, on my way to work. I'd fill that thing with Mountain Dew. At lunchtime, I'd fill that thing with Mountain Dew. On my way home, I'd fill that thing with Mountain Dew. And at home, I had my own bubbly machine where I could make my own soda. And they come in 28-ounce batches, and I'd make 3 of those a night, Mountain Dew. So, like, you know, I was full of fluid. And so could that have contributed to my high blood pressure, having that much fluid, not, you know, caffeine and that much fluid? Absolutely. So now I don't drink that stuff anymore, and I drink a lot less. So I'm actually sipping on the same glass of water as when I started this live stream. And that's another thing I try and do too, is after a certain time of the evening, I do try and just have sips if I'm thirsty, and not glasses and glasses and glasses of water. And I have to be mindful of that because of my kidney condition, I'm more prone to feeling thirsty. So, but especially towards bedtime, I'm trying to get away from that, because I would wake up several times a night to pee because I had been sucking down liters and liters and liters of fluid. So I know where you're going with that. Yeah. And that's why things like hydrochlorothiazide works to lower blood pressure, because it helps your kidneys excrete fluid, makes you pee more, you know, and that's to reduce the fluid volume in your cardiovascular system, which will in turn lower blood pressure. So I see where you're going with that. I shouldn't be over consuming liquids throughout the day. That could help. So what I was doing is, because after the phenofibrate debacle, and I didn't know it because my blood pressure came down on carnivore, you know, and it got down into the normal range with my meds, and I stopped checking it because I was in my mind, I was like, this is one of those things that got cured. And then when the doctor put me on phenofibrate, I was on that for a year, and that damaged my kidneys. I got worse, and then I started checking my blood pressure again, and it was like 180 over 110, and I started freaking out about it because I know the dangers of high blood pressure when I have very little kidney remaining. And so we tried switching from losartan to olmesartan, and that didn't really change anything. I cut out the pop. That had a minor effect. And then, then recently I asked to be put on a calcium channel blocker and to double my olmesartan dose, which I have. So now we're down to about, you know, instead of 180 over 110, we're down to about 150 over 95-ish right now. And probably could be better, but I also quadrupled my beta blocker, but then that started to have adverse effects that I didn't like in the bedroom. So that had to go. And so I went back to a 2.5 instead of a 10 on that. And I don't know. We'll see where we go from there. I'll probably, my calcium channel blocker dose is on the lowest. I'll probably ask to double it in another month, just to try and get that down a little more. So, and I'm taking some beetroot supplement or something to try. That's supposed to help, but I don't think it's doing anything either. But my problem is organ damage. Kidneys regulate blood pressure, and my kidneys are stage 4/stage 5 shot. That's my problem. So, but I do know what you're going there. Drink less, and that should help. All right. I know you all smoke your meats a lot. As a city boy who's not about to put a grill on his fire escape, is there any indoor option to try out what I hear about?
Yeah.
I never knew that a name. So you go by Bride's Biscuit. I thought you were a female. You just called yourself a city boy.
He's a guy.
Okay, my bad. I thought I knew who you were.
I want to say, and I'm not positive on this, but I want to say I heard of an indoor smoker of some kind, and I'm not sure. Look it up. Do a Google search on it. Now they do have. I call them an easy bake oven. I actually own one. It's out here in my shop. They do have a box smoker that really doesn't put out a whole lot of smoke. It just uses some wood chips in it, and it doesn't do too bad of a job. I use mine for making biltong and jerky, but they're an electric smoker, and they're not too bad, but they're not near as good as my stick burner. My offset smoker is fantastic, and you can always cheat and do it in the oven and use liquid smoke.
Yep.
Now, I don't know what all is in liquid smoke. I don't know how clean it is. You'd have to look at the ingredients. But if you want a little bit of smoky flavor, you can try to use some liquid smoke, put it on a roast or whatever you're doing.
I put the liquid smoke in the bottom of the pan,
Okay.
a wire rack, then the meat. Low and slow in the oven. It's highly similar in flavor to smoked meat. The liquid smoke does not come in contact with the meat. It comes in contact with the water, which steams up into the meat.
Okay.
And I think that technique was from the Food Channel, that Elton guy, I think his name is.
Yeah.
He's got the camera in the oven and all that kind of stuff. He's got a lot of stuff like that on his videos.
Let's see here. I really enjoy this show. Wish it was on twice a week. I do want to add like another live thing in the form, something smaller scale, like in the form of videos, or either me talking head or an interview kind of style. But time, always have time.
Okay, so I just sorry, Bob. Let me interrupt you. I just did a quick search on Amazon, and they do have indoor pellet smokers.
Wow.
Listed.
Yeah, that's interesting. We have an electric one, but you still got to use it outside.
Yeah, well, these are going to be electric, but they're going to be a pellet smoker. But be aware, they're expensive. They ain't cheap. So, anyways, so they do make an indoor smoker.
All right, very good. Sue Galetly, Weight Watchers did the same thing. They sold their own bread, ice cream, frozen dinners, big lies with big food. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen these Weight Watchers meals that are like chicken and broccoli, and it's like, but they're crazy expensive. Like, you might as well just go buy the chicken and broccoli. Yeah, and that I know we're talking about Atkins too earlier, where Atkins started making Atkins bars and Atkins frozen meals, but all of that came after Atkins died.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
somebody bought the Atkins name and started producing that.
That's what happened. He died, and the company was sold to another big food company who turned around and came up with these Atkins products, and even published Atkins books, that had nothing to do with Atkins, and so I think that if Atkins was alive, and saw what was going on, he'd be highly upset. He'd be rolling in his grave, as they would say. I don't
They
think he
sure
would've-
hooked me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another thing too, is someone, a big food company bought the rights to that name, started making these products, and it flies in the face of the things that Atkins taught. So I still think if you go back and buy the 90s edition of New Diet Revolution, read it and apply it, that's a step in the right direction. Just kind of like the New Food Pyramid is a step in the right direction.
The Dr. Eric Westman's prescription strength keto is the Atkins diet with some things crossed off it.
Yeah.
Sure, he got it.
Yeah. Westman, he's a good resource. He goes back to the Atkins era. Rob Siwas, carb addiction doc, and a lot of people hate him, but he's actually pretty intelligent. He said he does say some stupid stuff, but once in a while, but he's a good guy. He's a good guy. I still like his content. We already read that one. Okay, 100 Pure Penne 2. Hi, everyone. I have stage 4 CKD. Same here. And a very low hemoglobin of 9. Should I supplement or eat beef liver? Maybe. And so there's a variety of factors that go in there. If you're on a carnivore diet, you would definitely want to be eat a lot of heme iron. So beef is a good source. Organ meats is a good source. And let's see here. But there could be other factors involved. So like, when my hemoglobin dropped down to like a 9 at one point after my phenofibrate debacle. And part of that is kidneys produce something called erythropoietin. And that tells the bone marrow to produce more red blood cells and more hemoglobin. And so when the kidneys stop producing erythropoietin, hemoglobin will drop because it's not telling the bone marrow to make this hemoglobin for you. So that could be part of the factor. Depends how deep into stage 4 you are. But I would definitely add sources of red meat. If you like poultry, dark meat is better than any poultry is fine, but the dark meat is going to be a little better. Seafood such as oysters, clams, mussels, sardines, those are all good. Then if you eat plants too, then there's strong sources of non-heme iron, but they're not going to be as great as some of the animal foods. So, and vitamin C improves non-heme iron absorption. So if you're eating plants, then you want to maybe make sure you're getting citrus fruits or taking eating broccoli, bell peppers, or taking vitamin C supplements to help with the non-heme iron. But again, I still think the animal-based iron supplements are going to be better for you. And that's the key. Meat, red meat, and seafood. And some organ meats will definitely, or organ meat capsules. If you don't want to taste the organ meats, if you want to take the ancestral supplements or something, all that should help you. You're getting the V vitamins, you're getting the iron. Should help boost the hemoglobin. But the only missing factor is the erythropoietin. So if that doesn't work, then you might want to talk to your nephrologist about you can get erythropoietin injections. It'll help raise that hemoglobin levels. So, but I know what you mean. So mine has gone from 9 up to 12 now, which is on the low end of normal. I used to be 14. 2 years ago, it was more normal. My hemoglobin hematocrit was 14, or hemoglobin. I think hematocrit was in the 40s. I have to look at the scale again or open up my Excel spreadsheet here. But yeah, I did take a hit, and it got down there low for a while, and so they considered that anemic. And like I was always cold, and my digits were cold, and then I've rebounded somewhat. But I'll have to check that out. I'll be checking that again in a couple months to see if I've made any more improvements or not. So there you go. All right, I'm getting tired. Last comment, I think. Yeah, let me look over here. All right. Very good. The sugar diet is just one example of a cyclical trend in social media that promotes the reintroduction of carbs into a low carbohydrate diet. You can see examples in an AI search. So yeah, that's what it is. It's it's propaganda from the enemy. I think the sugar diet promoters were just like the militant vegans. All of a sudden, they thought they struck gold, and we were all crazy. And that's why I don't get it either, because the people that were promoting it, especially like Mark Bell, he was huge into keto, and then he got swept up into this sugar diet propaganda. So that there's always that, and that's got to be propaganda too, because I mean, like, I know some former keto people that tried to they did a sugar diet, but they did it with fruit, and they've had good results with it. They were like, their conscience just wouldn't let them chug sugary soda and eat candy, but some of the biggest voices that were promoting it, like Mark Bell and was it Cole Robinson, the snake diet, the guy that yells at all his viewers all the time, puts them down. He was like, all I eat is orange soda, Snickers, Skittles, and I lose weight like mad. All you guys are stupid fat cows for not getting on this sugar diet. He'd just yell at people, and it's so annoying. But now I think his channel got removed. I think he lost his channel. And then some of the other ones have just fallen by the wayside. But yeah, the sugar diet trend is gone. Thank goodness.
And yet we're still here.
And we're still here.
Chugging along.
Still healthy. Still losing weight. Still feeling great. Still have all our teeth.
The tortoise.
We ain't got all of them, but
I'm
hanging on to what I got.
You still have the teeth that you have, like the sugar diet. I was just thinking, like, the damage that's got to be doing to your teeth. I don't know. It just flies in the face of common sense. That one would survive eating all that. That's what I couldn't believe. And there were so many people jumping on the bandwagon. And I'm sure, because it sounds great if you're a carb addict. What? I can eat Twix, Snickers, Skittles.
It gives you an
sugary
excuse to satisfy your addiction
and lose weight.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Just think of all the damage you're doing to your body by putting all that poison in it.
Right. Exactly. If I could lose weight and feel great on a diet of pizza and store-bought half-gallon ice creams, would I do it? Yeah. But I'm not gonna. Even if I lose weight, I'm not gonna feel great. I'm gonna all the illnesses that I reversed will come marching back triumphantly.
Or the inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like, all right, I was addicted to Copenhagen for 33 years. And if I knew for a fact, an absolute fact, that Copenhagen was never going to harm me, it would never cause cancer, it would never make me sick, it would never bother me again, I'd go out and buy me another can right now. I'm not addicted to it anymore, but I like dipping snuff. I just flat liked it. But I gave it up. When I turned 50, I quit because I knew someday this was going to catch up with me. And so I decided that was one step in fixing my health. Even back then, that was long before carnivore. That was 16 years before carnivore. But I knew I had to quit it because it was going to hurt me someday. And then I got a buddy, in fact, my farrier, Good guy, strong athlete, played college football, he steer wrestler, and rodeo professionally for years. Went to shoeing horses, and here about 2-3 years ago, he come down with cancer in his I think it was in his tongue or in his throat or something, and it was due to dipping snuff. Fortunately, they were able to reverse it on him, and he didn't have to lose anything, so he got off lucky. So I'm glad I got off of that before I did. But like I said, it's one of those things. If I knew it'd never hurt me again, I'd go right back to it. If I knew pizza would never hurt me, would never harm me, I love pizza. It's my favorite food, but I won't never eat it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say I won't. If I was on death row and they asked me for my last meal, it'd be pizza and a half-gallon of ice cream.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here's a comment here by Bride's Biscuit. It's not showing up yet. Hold on. Here it is. Reintroducing carbs over just 2 days made me sick for days and inflamed for 3 months. Lesson learned. So that's wowzers.
Yeah.
Inflamed for 3 months. Did you keep eating them for 3 months, or was that just from a one-off mistake? That's a long time to have some repercussions.
Said just over 2 days.
Mm.
I'm gonna say you're.
Okay, yeah. There you go. You did say that. Yes, yeah. I'm tired. I told you.
I'm gonna say you're extremely sensitive. Yeah. Well, there's your stuff hit the fan moment right there.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I'm still able to tolerate some here and there. I choose not to have them. And maybe my tolerance is because I still indulge slightly from time to time. Maybe that's what it is. I have talked about in the past, I'm a little curious about salad or seed oil. I have not tested this yet, but we talked about probably 2 months ago. I'll show you how often I do this. It's not very often. 2 months ago, I was talking about when I go to Applebee's, and if I get a meal, I have a salad with a ranch, and I started to feel like every time I had a salad, I'd come home and I'd have to be right in the bathroom with diarrhea. And I thought it was the salad. But then someone else, I think it might have been Papa Carnivore, said that it could be the seed oils. It could actually be the ranch because the ranch is soybean oil. And I'm like, that's a good experiment. I should try to see if it's the seed oil or if it's the salad. I should go and have a salad with no ranch, or I should try and go and maybe just get a side of ranch to dip my steak in or something to see which one actually triggers the diarrhea. See if I can't narrow it down. I haven't had a salad since. It's been 2 months.
We're still waiting on the experiment.
Yeah, I just haven't.
Sacrifice yourself, Bob.
Yeah, and I'm going to, because that just made me curious. Like I never considered it could be the ranch, but maybe it is, And so I'm going to test that. I want to test that out someday, and see which one it is. I've used to eat salad all the time without any bowel issues, and then now it just seems like every time I have one, right to the bathroom. Or like the other day, went to the movies, a couple handfuls of popcorn. What I do today, bathroom, 4 times. I'm like, oh, wow. That's weird. And so is it just, am I more sensitive to these things now that I've been abstaining from it more or less for so long? That could be part of it.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Because I think when the cleaner your body gets, the more sensitive it's going to be to the poisons you reintroduce to it.
Yeah. But then I don't have problems with I don't have problems with the occasional broccoli or asparagus or Brussels sprouts or occasional apple, some blueberries or strawberries or something now and again. And I just rattled off a bunch of foods that, if you heard me out of context, it sounds like I eat these things all the time, and I don't, so just once in a while. And I don't have a problem with it. So that's but if I ate any of that stuff and got sick for days and inflamed for 3 months, I wouldn't touch it again either. I went up 7 pounds on one weekend. and had pitted edema for 12 weeks. So wow. Yeah, something whatever you ate, your body didn't like. I don't know what specifically that was, but I definitely wouldn't touch those again. So, and I've had similar issues with certain foods. Jeff, he's had similar issues with chili. You know, you
Yep.
learn once, and you don't do it. In fact, I had the same lesson with chili. I had chili for the first time like 3 months ago, and it killed me. Oh, it killed me. It just reinforced my belief that I shouldn't be eating beans ever. You know, mess me up. It was bad. Not gonna lie. Too embarrassed to tell now. Should have known better. Yeah, well, we don't need the deets. So
Well, no, it's a lesson learned. You know,
it's a lesson learned. Nothing to be embarrassed about.
Forget the mistake and remember the lesson.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of elimination diet, by the way. Yeah, we were talking about you reintroduce something and see how your body reacts. Whatever it is you reintroduced, your body reacted badly.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't reintroduce it again. That's for sure.
Yeah, I tried chili one time, 6 months in. Thought it's mostly meat. What the heck? Let's see how it tastes. My wife wanted some chili and she likes my chili. So I made some venison chili and I was sick for 3 days. So I know I can't ever touch that again.
Now, another reason why I highlighted this comment, and then we're going to say goodnight. So I thought I'd tell one more story. So Saturday, the wife and I went to Spicy Sombreros. Okay, it's a Mexican restaurant. I really like it because they got this thing called a surf and turf stone molcajete, and it's like $30, but it's loaded with chicken breast, ribeye, shrimp. I mean, there's all kinds of meat in there, and generous too. And so I'm eating that, and then she asks, "Can I have a margarita?" I'm like, "Sure." So she gets a margarita, something called an octopus. It's got 2 like flavors swirled in it. And I was like, "Can I have a sip?" And I want to taste it. So she's like, "Okay." So I took a sip of this margarita, and I'm saying literally like, that's it. At dinner, I was trying to use a knife and a fork to cut the meat, and my hands started cramping up. My fingers would go backwards. My hands would cramp up. I started to have cramps in my arms and cramps in my feet and legs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought for setting tile all day, I thought maybe I overworked my hands, but they're just cramping up something terrible. I could hold my hand out, and it looked like my fingers were trying to bend themselves backwards. They were all sorts of deformed, and oh my goodness, I could barely hold my own fork and barely eat my own dinner. My hands kept just cramping up on me. And I've noticed a pattern too. Like every time I have even just a sip of alcohol, I end up with cramps. And I told the story a year ago, about how I had a beer and I woke up with the worst hamstring cramp I ever had in my life. Well, I've just noticed a pattern every time I drink, even if and like literally when I say a sip, I mean it's a sip I would let like my 3-year-old try. I mean, it's just a little sip. And all of a sudden I'm having all these cramps. And so like I get on AI, I'm like, could even just a sip mess me up like this if I have late stage chronic kidney disease? And the answer was yes, even just a sip. And it talks about how toxic it is to your cells, how toxic it is to your kidneys. It dehydrates you. It messes with your electrolytes. And that's how bad my kidneys are, that I can't even have a sip of a margarita.
Well, and you used to enjoy a little bourbon once in a while too.
And I haven't had bourbon in months. Because I would have that on if we went out for karaoke or down to open mic night, and I haven't done that since like summertime. And yeah, it's bizarre. And then I was reading about it, alcohol consumption and how it can damage your kidneys. It raises your blood pressure, it fights against your blood pressure meds, and And yeah, I used to have cramps, and interesting, when I was on that phenofibrate, I thought I had electrolyte issues, and the only way to soothe it would be to take mass amounts of electrolytes. But then my serum electrolyte levels would be too high and dangerous levels. And I found out it was the phenofibrate damaging the kidneys, messing with my electrolytes. So now, yeah, even just a sip of alcohol, and I'm mind blown. I used to chug some serious alcohol. And I'm just thinking, like, I just can't believe that I can't even have a taste of it without my hands wanting to cramp up and seize for about 3 hours. So for about 3 hours, my hands wanted to cramp, fold themselves backwards, not cooperate. I was even trying to drive home, and I was having to use like my forearm and my knee because my hands were like cramping up, and it's crazy.
Should have ate a heaping tablespoon of mustard.
Yeah, crazy. But I didn't have any mustard there. But right, so it's just kind of like I really gotta be resolved. And I told my wife, I was like, the next time we're out, and I'm like, can I have a taste? You got to just tell me, remember what happened last time? Remind me that this is a bad idea. And
You don't need to be drinking that poison anyhow.
Right.
Ain't no good for you.
But I was like, just a sip. I just want to taste a sip, So I actually miss drinking a little bit. I liked it when I was at karaoke or on some sort of presentation. Loosen me up a little bit, calm my nerves, but I can't do it. I'll collapse. I'll collapse and look like a pretzel.
I gotta admit, I don't miss it a bit. I totally lost my taste for it. I don't know if it was the diet, the Holy Spirit coming on me or what it was, but I just totally lost my taste for it. Don't care for it no more.
All right. Well, thanks, Bride Biscuit. Thanks for partaking in the conversation, and everybody who participated in the chat tonight. You ask a lot of good questions and make a lot of good comments. You make this a fun, fast 3.5 hours. Time flies when we're enjoying ourselves, and we enjoy ourselves thanks to you, and thanks to everyone who joined us on screen today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you're back next Monday. And I'm going to go ahead and click the end stream button. And if you want to stay on afterwards to say goodnight in the backstage, that's fine. But for the rest of you, good night. Thanks again.
Good night,
We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Thank you.